Hello everybody and welcome back to part 2 of an absolutely necessary recap of Minecraft Diaries Season 1. So in the last episode we left off, we met High Priest Zane, and today is Donna's wedding. Episode 51, Wedding at the Docks. So Aphmau leaves her house and outside she sees Zane, his guards, and Gareth. So Aphmau goes up to Zane and is just like, why are your guards harassing my guard? And he's just like, oh, he just isn't showing the respect that my guards are used to seeing. Like, they just don't understand that other villages have, like, different protocols. And I was like, okay. And Zane's like, yeah, so basically they're upset because he is refusing to take off his armor for the wedding. And I was like, okay, he can just, like, do whatever you want. Because Zane's like, tell him not to wear his armor. I was like, I'm not going to tell him what to do. And he goes, okay, let me say it this way. If he wears his armor to the wedding, that's putting my life in danger. Wild reason. Here you go. Because if thieves see a guard at a wedding, they think it's a high-class wedding, meaning that they're going to rob it. And that's putting my life in danger. Okay. So I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, so basically if you don't force him to wear his armor not to the wedding, I'm not doing the wedding. Baby. So Zane calls his guards off and they go away, and Aphmau goes up to Gareth, and Gareth is just like, why is he here? Like, I just don't understand why he's doing this wedding. He's probably, like, never heard of this village before. And I was like, oh, he owes the crazy cat lady a favor. And Gareth's just like, yes, that makes sense. Not in a sarcastic way, like the way I'm saying it. He literally is like, oh, okay. Anyways, so Aphmau tells Gareth that he needs to wear clothing and not armor to the wedding. Gareth says no, and Aphmau's like, now, this is an order, because if you don't do this, Zane's not going to do Donna's wedding. And Gareth goes, I quit! And Aphmau's like, what? And he's like, okay, I'm kidding, but I am not doing that. And Aphmau's like, okay, then you're not going to the wedding, I guess. So she's just like, okay, I'm relieving you of your duties. And he's like, okay, I'll patrol the area. And it's like, girl, if Zane finds you in your armor, the wedding is over. Aphmau goes to Cadenza's house to get her dress. And we see the first skin change of the series. Da 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 da. New skin. I'm only really going to be doing this for Aphmau because she is the main character. She gets her dress from Cadenza, and Cadenza's like, I haven't seen Gareth. Have you seen Gareth? I made him a little tux. And I was like, oh, she like makes up, I forgot what the excuse was, but she makes up an excuse, and it's like the worst excuse ever, and Cadenza's all sad and stuff. And she's like, okay, bye, Cadenza. So apparently Donna is missing. Donna has gone missing, and Aphmau finds her at Babe House, and Donna's like reminiscing about her time at Babe House, and is just like, am I good enough to marry Logan? I don't know if I'm ready. I never saw myself getting married, and blah, blah, blah. And Aphmau's like, get your shit together and go to that wedding. I worked hard on that wedding. You are getting married. Everyone in this town is expecting to get married. You're getting married. And she's like, you're right. So Aphmau gives a hot girl pep talk, and then they go to the wedding after she calms her down. Fun fact about the wedding, Dale is the best man. Honestly, that's all I have to say about the wedding. The wedding was pretty but now there's an after party, and there's an after party in the plaza. Everyone's dancing and like this. So Aphmau goes to check in on everybody, and Emmeline is still thirsting over Brendan, and Aphmau's still like, I am not touching that. And it's like, okay, man. She goes over to Kiki, and Kiki is talking to Zane, and they're talking about some werewolves, because Kiki, of course, is very educated in werewolves. Sorry. And then Gareth enters the plaza, and he is wearing the tux that Cadenza made him. So Aphmau's like, wow, you look so dashing. Can I have this dance? Gareth's like, shouldn't I be asking you this? But Aphmau's like a hashtag girl boss. So, of course, she's going to ask a man to dance. So then they dance the night away. Everyone goes back to the docks to see Donna and Logan's off at the sunset, so that onto their honeymoon. That sentence was a mess. But Garth and Aphmau stay behind, and they're at the altar, and they're kind of just talking about other weddings. And then Zane comes, and we're like, Zane, what are you doing here? And he goes, I knew it was you. Hello, big brother. When I tell you, I was shocked when I first saw this at the ripe old age of 12 or 11, whatever, how old I was. Shocked. Everyone was in a frenzy. They were like, what? Gareth has a brother? That's why he was hiding his face. We'll talk about that more in a bit. But episode 52, Sacrifices Made. So Zane says that Garth is actually the firstborn son of Ocassis and is in line to be the next lord, which, okay, doesn't make sense because the lord system has been established that it's kind of like a democracy, like we saw in Metelli with like Hayden and Kenmure going into an election, because if it was passed down on generation to generation, one, that's a monarchy, and two, then Lawrence would have been the Lord of Metelli because Lawrence was kind of like Joe's son. Ocassis is basically a monarchy is what I'm trying to say, but Garth didn't want to be the Lord, so he went to guard school because he just always talked about how he wanted to be a guard and he just wanted to guard his father. And we learned that there is a war between Scaleswind and Ocassis, like about to happen, on the brink of happening, and that Gareth is actually engaged to the daughter of Scaleswind, and that's why he ran away and was in hiding, because he didn't want to marry the daughter of Scaleswind because he's like, I didn't love her and I want to marry a woman I love. So yeah, I guess Zane owing the crazy cat lady a favor was kind of a half-truth, because I'm assuming he's actually here because he knew Garth was here. I can't remember if Garth faked his death or not. I'm not like 100% sure if that's what happened. It could be wrong. He might have not. I forgot. My bad. I can only remember so much. So then Garth kind of like spills that he's in love with Aphmau, but also he doesn't, but also he does. I think he's just talking about how he wants to marry someone he loves, and that this daughter of Scaleswind isn't the woman he loves. So it is the next morning, and Zoe goes up to Aphmau and is just like, I saw you and Gareth dancing. I was like, yeah. She's all like, well, I was just curious if like you were into him. I don't want to like step on your feet or anything, but I never noticed how handsome he was because I've never seen his face before, because no one's ever seen his face before besides Aphmau. And she's like, no. And Zoe's like, ooh, cool. And honestly, I feel like, I don't know, I would have kind of been interested in seeing a Zoe and Gareth kind of plot line, since both of them are kind of really, like, both of them really care about Levin and take care of Levin together. So I feel like that could have been like a really interesting plot line, or at least Zoe trying to get with Gareth, because Gareth doesn't actually have any like other love interests like the entire time besides the fact he is engaged. I mean, there's Azura, but let's be real now. I mean, that doesn't happen at all on camera. That's like all in the past. I don't know, I think I just would have found that to be a little interesting. Aphmau goes to the docks and she sees Kawaii-chan sitting there in her bikini, and Brendan taking apart the altar. Aphmau's like, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I was gonna take apart the altar myself, but then Brendan came and Brendan was like, I'll do it. And she was like, but I wanted to enjoy this nice day at the beach, so I thought I'd just come here and sit in my bikini. She goes up to Brendan and Brendan's just like, oh no, this is gonna take all day. Basically just like implying that he wants to just ogle at Kawaii-chan. Oh my god, I forgot to put them up. They turned into babies. Anyways, yeah, I forgot that they're babies now. So after Aphmau talks to Brendan, she sees Emmeline staring at him from afar. Okay, it's kind of creepy at this point. Like, Emmeline's kind of acting like Brendan when Brendan kind of like stalks girls, like when he was, oh my god, my bangs need to get cut. So Emmeline's literally just acting like Brendan now. She's really obsessed with him and keeps like staring at him, and at this point it's getting really creepy. So Aphmau continues to walk around the village more, and she finds Zane in Molly's house because Molly's letting Zane stay there, and Aphmau is there because I forgot to mention Zane says that Gareth has 3 days to come back with him because Garth still needs to get married to the daughter of Scaleswind. Super important fact that I completely forgot to mention. My bad. That conversation happened at the beginning of this episode. Yes, that's when this conversation happened. So Ahmad goes in there and she's just like, okay, you have like 1 day to get out of my village, Zayn. You can't stay here. And Zayn's just like, cutscene. He sets the floor on fire. He sets the floor on fire. I was like, what the hell are you doing? And she puts out the fire. And Zayn's like, you don't want to mess with me. I have the whole army of Ocassis on my side. Wasn't there a baby that was just born in your village? I'd hate for something bad to happen to that baby. So man is literally threatening a freaking baby. And he's like, I am taking Garth to meet his fiance. Then he says that he would marry Aphmau, not because he loves her, but because she has like the chance of being like a powerful leader. And also he wants to see the people that she loves like be angry. And it's like, you've known her for like 5 seconds. It's whatever. Aphmau's like all angry and she's walking around the village. Brian finds her and Brian's like, you need to go into the woods. Garth needs you to go into the woods immediately. He's like, I don't know what's happening, but Garth told me to go get you. So they go into the woods and we see Lawrence. Lawrence is there. Urguth has brought Lawrence from the nether. Like he brought, so now Urguth is corrupted and he's all black and kind of looks like an ender dragon. I thought I had an image of that, but when I was recording this yesterday, I couldn't find it, so I guess I just don't have one. Okay, guys, I had to print, there's like 83 of these images, okay? I can't remember to print all of them. Lawrence is back. Episode 53, Lawrence Undone. So we start off with a cutscene of Jean looking at this like blob. I'm calling it a blob. Basically, it's like black and like this like purple glowstone kind of situation, and he's just like looking at it lovingly because it's at the top of the nether. Sasha walks out and starts talking to Jean, and Jean's all pissed because Lawrence got out, and Sasha's like, he wasn't useful to us anyways because all he kept talking about was Aphmau and he wasn't going to change and he wasn't going to do anything. And Jean's like, yeah, but he knows all of our plans, so I would rather him dead than like on at the surface knowing all of our plans. And apparently he also wants Xenix dead, but like he's not so worried about Xenix because Xenix is like not gonna tell anyone the secrets. He's just gone absolutely mad with power and is just like haywire. He is a Shadow Knight, but he like just doesn't even associate himself with them anymore. Sasha says that she remembers that Lawrence was talking about how Vlad has a different way out of the nether. Because if you remember, they're all trapped in the nether from when, I think Vlad was the one that broke the portal, not Lawrence. I don't know if that's a spoiler or not. When you talk for 3 hours straight, you kind of forget what you say. So Sasha says that they're going to go talk to Vlad, who's in Eternal Jail. That's the name of the jail. He's in eternal jail. Anyways, so we cut back to Aphmau, and Lawrence is there, and he is blind. Lawrence is just blind. He can't see anything. So he says that she doesn't know how to heal them because magic users can only have one type of magic, and hers is Barrier's magic, so she has absolutely no clue what to do. And then Lawrence, like, she goes down to talk to Lawrence, and Lawrence just starts randomly laughing, and Aphmau's like, why are you laughing? And he's like, be here in the overworld blind, then be down in the nether and see. And it's like, girl, of course you would. You were being tortured for what felt like months, I'm assuming. Years? I don't know, because in the nether time moves faster, so it feels like you're there for longer. So I don't know how long it would have felt like he was there. But it would have been there for a while. So it's like, yeah, duh, of course you'd prefer to be here blind. I think anyone would prefer to be somewhere blind than being tortured for an eternity. But that's just my take on it. So he confesses to Aphmau again that he is in love with her. And he reveals that she is the only reason he did not fully turn into a Shadow Knight, because his love for her is what kept going, and that he doesn't want to let her go like Sasha did to Kenmur. Because if you remember that Sasha and Kenmur were like in love, but then Sasha turned into a Shadow Knight, and the motif that we see throughout the series is like anything involving Nether, it can kind of be broken if you're like in love or think about your loved one. So meaning that Sasha kind of just like forgot about Kenmure, because she says in somewhere, I don't remember, she was like, I'm sorry I had to let you go, my love Kenmure, but I had to do this. So she let Kenmure go, but Lawrence didn't. And Aphmau freaks out because like literally the way he's saying this sounds like a marriage proposal. Aphmau's like, I don't want to marry you. I'm not interested in marrying you. I'm sorry, Lawrence, I can't return those feelings. And he's like, I know you can't. I just want you in my life. And you probably have somebody like by now, because you're such a catch. So Aphmau goes to talk to Garth, and Garth's like, I heard the entire thing. And it's like, yes, girl, you did. Because Garth decided he wanted to go down while Aphmau was talking to Lawrence, because he's still a Shadow Knight, and he hasn't gotten his immortality yet, because for that he would need to kill Aphmau. Garth was like, I'm gonna come down with you. So he basically just heard Lawrence confessing his love, and of course he's jelly. And Aphmau decides that this is the perfect time to tease him, because I'm pretty sure at this point she knows that Garth has a crush on her because of like what had happened at the altar, but she never like fully says that she knows. Throughout the rest of the story, it's kind of like you can tell that she knows. And he says like, right now, this is no time for jokes. We need to think of how to get me to stay and not go to Ocastus, because we have 3 days to figure it out before you leave. So Zane decides to take over one of the houses in the village, and it was like Brendan's old house. I don't know where Brendan lives now. He takes over Brendan's house, and he is in the plaza, and he's just like sitting there in a lawn chair drinking some tea, and he's like, I think I'm going to stay in the village a little longer, and I want to thank you for letting me get the supplies, because he's taking the supplies from the plaza. He's just digging a big old hole in the plaza, which we learn later in a few episodes. There's like something suspicious about that. Episode 54, Cadenza's Worry. So there's like a lot of repeating information looking back in episode 53 and in episode 54, so just keep that in mind. If it gets a little confusing, it's because there's just a bunch of repeating information. I don't know. So Kawaii-chan and Brendan decide that they're going to fix up Aphmau's house because it literally has no roof on it from when Xenix attacked like a bunch of episodes ago. Cadenza begs to see Lawrence because she hears that Lawrence is back and is just like, I want to see Lawrence. Please, 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 please let me see him. And she reveals that they were siblings, but not, because earlier, like, Lawrence was adopted by Zhou and Cadenza was adopted by Hayden. So when she goes in and talks to Lawrence, she keeps asking, like, these millions of questions. And he's just like, Cadenza, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Like, I'm trying to leave that behind. Cadenza's like, man. Cadenza also reveals that she told Zane about Lawrence because she was like, well, Zane is a high priest. Maybe he could try and heal Garth with the power of Lady Irene. Aphmau goes to the plaza and Zane is still there digging a big old hole. And like last time, he reveals that this is actually why he's staying in the village, is he's interested in the village because of Lawrence. And he reveals that he knows Lawrence is a Shadow Knight, and that he also knows about Xenix. Aphmau asks him, when Aphmau had asked him, like, when he first got here in episode 50, like, what do you think of the Shadow Lord? He's like, that's a child's tale. And Aphmau was like, but didn't you say it was like a child's tale? And then he, like, just giggles, and Aphmau walks away. Aphmau goes to, like, visit Emmeline, and she's baking a cake. So Aphmau finds Garth, and they gossip more about Zane. Basically, like, repeats a conversation that her and Zane had about how Zane knows about Lawrence, how he's staying longer, and how he's being a butt and stealing a bunch of supplies from the plaza. And then Garth, of course, calls her beautiful again, guys. Of course. Episode 55, The Baby Shower. Has finished Kiki's farm, which has been, like, a side project she's been working on. And Kawaii-chan and Brendan have also finished Aphmau's house. So Aphmau goes to look at her new home, and Lawrence is down there. He's staying in the guest room. And she's just like, Lawrence, you want to go to this baby shower? And he's like, no. And Aphmau's like, yes, you're going. You just need a little makeover. And then Cadenza barges in. She's like, I heard my name. Okay. And we learn that Lawrence's hair was actually dyed. Like, like, if you see, like, Cadenza's hair and his hair are the same, and she was like, yeah, I actually dyed his hair, but I couldn't dye it back because then I turned into a chicken. And he was like, yeah, so now I'm stuck with this flaming red hair, Cadenza, that doesn't look good on everybody. So she's just like, okay, I'll turn it back to normal and I'll give you a little makeover. Aphmau goes to the plaza and Garth is there and they're looking at the big pit together, and apparently Zane has gone like missing. No one's seen him in a while, so they're hoping that's good. He's still in the village. He's like locked up in his house, but no one's seen him in like a day, which is good. They are trying to brainstorm ways to keep Garth in Phoenix Drop. Aphmau says, what if he had a girlfriend? And Garth is like, but like she would need to be a woman with power. Like it couldn't just be any girl. And Aphmau's like, it's gonna have to be me, isn't it? And he's like, well, yes, you would be the only one that would work. It'd either have to be you or a powerful magic user or whatever. And Aphmau's like, ugh, okay. So Garth says that they need to ask Xenix, like, what the rules are revolving around that. Like, what if Garth did have a girlfriend or a fiance? Would he still be forced to marry the daughter of Scaleswind? And the way they go about this is in the worst way possible. The way they go about this is literally like they just... I'll talk about it later. I'll talk about it later. So she looks in the hole in the ground again, and you know that purple stuff, the blob that I talked about earlier that Jean was looking at, is there. You can now see the blob in the plaza, the black and purple stuff in that hole. I just repeated like everything I said in that sentence. The baby shower starts and Zane shows up with a necklace for Alexis. Anyways, Aphmau decides that she's gonna go talk to Zane because he, one, is just being weird. By weird, it's like giving this little girl a necklace when he is actually like an asshole. So Aphmau decides to go talk to him and kind of like brings up the scenario, what if Garth had a girlfriend? And Zane's like, well, first of all, I would applaud her for her wonderful taste in men, and I'd want to get to know her better, you know what I mean? He was like, but if he did have a girlfriend, you'd think that I'd see him go everywhere with her, and I haven't seen any woman around him besides you, Aphmau. And he's like, in any case, I would like to take her into the woods on a picnic to get to know her better, and somewhere deep where no one could hear screams. And I was like, you're a monster. And then he's like, toodles, after literally threatening to kill Aphmau essentially. But whatever. So Aphmau like is walking off steaming about Zane, and she runs into Cadenza, and Cadenza goes da 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 da, introducing the new old Lawrence. Look, he's not ugly anymore. Boop. Anyways, and the episode ends on a close-up of the blob. The blob! Episode 56, The Baby Shower, Part 2. So we open up with a cutscene of Sasha looking at the giant blob, and she goes to talk to Jean, but they're not having any luck getting the beans about where exit is from Vlad. They bitch about how Xenix has literally killed so many people. He literally killed an entire troop of Shadow Knights. Whatever, blah, 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 yep. We go back to Aphmau and Lawrence and Cadenza runs off because she's like, oh no, I need to go this way now. Just so you two could get to know each other and get to know the new Lawrence. And Lawrence is sitting there like, did she dye my hair blue? She kept laughing the entire time. Did she dye my hair blue? And I was like, yes. And he starts freaking out. And she's like, no. Okay, I just didn't dye your hair blue. Okay. And she's like, okay, why don't I take you to the baby shower? And Lawrence is like, okay, can you guide me there, though? And, like, hold my hand, because Cadenza just kept leading me with her voice, and I was running into literally everything. So Aphmau's like, yeah, sure, of course. But then while they're talking, Zane comes over with his guards, and they try to arrest Aphmau for espionage. And the reason for this is because he's like, well, you're trying to stop Garth's wedding. He doesn't marry the daughter of Scaleswind is going to lead to the war to, like, full-on break out. So she's trying to sabotage them, and that's, like, the reason she's getting arrested. Garth comes over, and Zane tells Garth about how Aphmau is crazy and is trying to start a war between Ocassis and Scaleswind because she's actually a giant gold digger and just wants to marry into the family because she's a power crazy lunatic. Lawrence freaks out and is like, actually, I'm engaged to Aphmau, and everyone's like, what? So Zane's like, oh, oopsies, sorry, silly guards. I'll go punish them because this is their fault, not mine. So he walks away, and then Garth and Lawrence kind of have like this little bro sesh. And Garth is like, wow, thank you for saving Aphmau again. He's like, I'd do anything to save her, but I'm sorry if this was like out of line. It was just the only thing I could think of at the top of my head. We learned from Garth that the lord from the Neapolitan villages where Aphmau had like solved all those murders has died because he actually disrespected Ocassus. So like Garth's like, I'm gonna have to go with him because if we don't go with him, who knows what they're gonna do to Phoenix Drop. Aphmau goes to bed and she's woken up by Zoe, who is freaking out because something feels off. She goes outside. Kawaii-chan is tweaking, walking back and forth, freaking out, and Aphmau's like, what is happening? And Kawaii-chan's like, I am physically in pain. There's something off in the world. I don't know what it is, but something's weird. She runs into Kiki. Kiki's like, all of my animals are freaking out. I don't know what to do. She goes to Molly and Dale's house because she's like checking in on everybody, and Alexis's crib is surrounded by the blob. So Aphmau's like, what the hell? So they try to break into it, but it can't be broken into, and she goes to the plaza, and the blob has taken over like the entire plaza. And Zane has Alexis on a podium, kind of like the one that was similar that we saw Lawrence on when he was in the Nether. And Zane is like, I work for the Shadow Lord. Meow, 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 meow. And then he turns Alexis into a Shadow Knight, so now she's like a full-grown person, and she starts attacking Aphmau, and Aphmau's like, no, I can't hit you. But again, Alexis is doing no damage because Aphmau's wearing like full diamond armor. So, and she like whacks Alexis one time. She's like, no, stop it, stop. So now Molly enters the plaza, and Alexis looks at Molly and says, what'd she say, mama? And then she passes out. And Molly's like, why did this grown woman just call me mama? And then Zane has disappeared. So dramatic. Episode 57, The Baby Shower Part 3. So they blow up the house that Zane was staying in, and they find dead bodies. Well, not dead bodies. Well, skeletons. Skeletons are dead bodies. They find skeletons, and everyone's like, what the hell was he doing in here? And then the blob is also in there, so they start investigating around the blob, and Aphmau finds a trap door. She goes down into the room, and there's like this weird creature there that we don't really ever learn what it is, and the purpose of it was like, I think it was, I was used to sacrifice to get the heart for the Shadow Lord, and behind this like apparition spirit ghost thing there is a heart called the Heart of the Shadow Lord. And then the thing's like, you just seem familiar, like to Aphmau, it's just like, you seem familiar. It's like I feel like I know you from somewhere. So Aphmau like takes the heart and is like, your presence also feels familiar. And then she's leaving, and then she's like, who is that? Who? Z. No, it can't be. Z. Xenix. This is something I actually I caught on my billionth rewatch when I was actually writing this. I never noticed that because I was like, what the hell is that? It's Xenix. Xenix. It's Xenix, okay? It was Xenix, and Xenix is now dead. Died. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. He's dead. He's gone. Because we literally never see him again. So I'm just going to also go with that it's Xenix, and assume that Aphmau's correct in her assumption that it is Xenix. She finds Garth, and she tells him about what she has found about the Heart of Darkness, and she takes him where the trapdoor was, but now it is gone. She goes back to her house, and they go back to her house, and they are keeping Alexis there, and Alexis is now a full-grown woman. But she's like naked forever, but by naked I mean she's like in undergarments, but like Cadenza finally decides to make her a freaking dress. It's crazy. Anyway, so now she's staying in Aphmau's house, and they kind of like put the pendant, the necklace that Zane gave her in like this like box, and they're like, okay, this must be the reason that Alexis had turned into a Shadow Knight. So Dr. Doctor's there, and Dr. Doctor's like, I don't know what's happened. I'm a freaking doctor, man. Like, he's like, what? I don't know anything about this stuff. I'm a freaking doctor. Like, what did they expect? So this is when Molly starts to be in her religious era. So Aphma goes to talk to Lawrence, and Lawrence is just like, has a Shadow Knight risen? Like, what's up? Like, I feel like a Shadow Knight's risen because Alexis had turned into a Shadow Knight, but she's not one anymore, I don't think. I don't know. It's kind of like, the lines are kind of blurred on that. Aphma goes around the town to like kind of check up on everybody, and she goes to the plaza, and Kiki's there with Sean Connery, and Sean Connery is a normal sized hamster now. Sean Connery is no longer big voluptuous anymore. He's a small little guy. Aphma starts talking smack about Zane, and Kiki's like, what? She gets like really, really offensive because Aphma's calling him evil, because Aphma literally saw him like turn Alexis into a Shadow Knight, and Kiki's like, no, he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that. That's not the Zane I know. It's like, girl, you talked to him at a wedding for like 10 minutes. There were 2 witnesses to this. It was Aphma and Molly. They were literally witnesses to this entire thing. You have freaking Gareth, Brian, Dale, that went into that room and saw the dead bodies in there. But Kiki's like, no. Zane is not evil. Zane is not evil. No, we danced at a wedding together. Aphma says that she hates to get involved in people's love lives, but then she's like, but I think I need to get involved in this because this is just toxic. Episode 58, Smile. So Emmeline says that she knows how to get rid of the blob and that they need wyvern's blood, but then like after that she doesn't know what to do. She's like, in this book it says to get wyvern's blood, but then after that it literally doesn't say what to do with it, so I don't know. Brendan notices Emmeline now that she's acting like herself and is like, whoa, she's cute. I think this shows 1, to just be yourself, and 2, don't change yourself for no man. Emmeline, hashtag girl boss. Garth is at the docks, and Raven has brought a message from Zane, and Garth's like, I don't want to read it, because Zane, like, he's disappeared. No one has any clue where he is. Right. Aphma reads it, and it says that he is sorry that he had to leave, and that he was summoned home because something more important happened. He said that he will come back when it's over so that Garth can enjoy the single life for now. He then thanks Aphma and Garth for all of the cute little fun they had, and he apologizes for, the Alexis thing, oopsies, and says that they're smart and they will figure it out. And then at the end he says, give me a little kiss give Kiki a little kiss for me. I swear sometimes some of like the sweetest people have like the worst taste in men. Kiki, come on now. Aphma goes to look for Raven and his family, and she stumbles upon them in this like little clearing, and they have made a grave for Erngrowth. And Raven's just like, he might have been like evil throughout most of his life, but in the end he was very noble and selfless, and he sacrificed himself for Lawrence. So he was like, so we're gonna honor him in his death. But then also he's not dead. Like, he's like, wyverns can't die, they're just dormant for like hundreds of years, I think is what he said. I don't know. It was kind of confusing because he's like dead, but he's not dead. So Aphma says that she needs Raven's blood so that they can fix the blob everywhere. And Raven's just like, bullshit. People think that wyvern's blood can fix everything, but it actually can't. And he says that Lady Irene used to do this stuff all the time. And he was like, you need this supplies to make a Lady Irene shrine, and this Lady Irene shrine can fix it. And he's like, you also need like a wyvern soul stone. And he was like, so we'll give you Erngrowth's because we need to get rid of this blob stuff, because also the blob stuff is Erngrowth's fault. So they're like, we'll give you his soul. But then it's like, if you use his soul in this fountain, will he come back? You know what I mean? Like, if his soul is in that soul stone, and that is like where he is, if they use it on the fountain, will he come back? I don't know. I always thought that was like a little strange. Like, if his soul's in there, his body is this, I don't know. It's confusing. So Aphma gets all of the stuff for the fountain. She puts it together in the plaza, and the entire blob turns into diamonds. Blocks and blocks of diamonds. All of the black blobness turned into diamonds, and then the purple stuff is celestial crystals. Episode 59, Wolf's Plight. I have a cramp in my leg. Ow. So Aphmau walks around and checks in on people, and Lawrence has his eyesight back now. It's crazy. They're like different colors because they used to be green, but now they're blue. And she just pointed that out, and I'm like, why don't you just make his eyes green or whatever. So of course he immediately hits on Aphmau. They go to Zane's house, and all of the black blob that was in Zane's house has actually turned into bedrock, or they call it bedrockium. So now we see, oh, this is here. I put this up already, I guess. We see grown-up Lowell, the wolf pup that Aphmau saved like a bajillion episodes ago. He is an albino, and he is there because Bulldog is injured, and they need Kiki to heal him because Kiki has like some sort of healing animal powers. I don't know. It's not really specified. But he says that there's like a war right now. Like, he was like, yeah, there's no more war with Brightport. But now we're at war with another wolf tribe. And it's like, oh, okay. Gosh darn it. So they go into Kiki's house, and she's nowhere to be found. And then they find her laying in bed, and she's like really, really weak. And she's like really sick. Oh, this is also up. I recorded, like I said in the last episode, recorded some of this stuff already, so I accidentally forgot to take some of these not down. Levin has blonde hair now. You remember back to like, I don't know, a bajillion episodes ago, Levin actually is supposed to have blonde hair, green eyes, but this Bibbs has blonde hair and blue eyes. So episode 60, another statue. So before she leaves, Alexis says goo. Groundbreaking. Molly wants to make like an official kind of like church thing for Lady Irene, and asks if they can bring a priest into town to speak for the name of Lady Irene. And Aphmau's like, no. Absolutely not. No. The last time we were here, your freaking child turned into a grown woman. No. And Molly's like, oh, okay, I guess I understand. It's like, Molly. Whatever. Anyways, so Dale suggests that Aphmau should make like an alliance because Ocassus is going around asking a bunch of villages to join in their alliance, and then he's like, you should make your own, and kind of alluding that they should prepare for war. So Aphmau goes to talk to Garth, and Garth is kind of really suspicious about Lawrence now because he was just like, I don't want to be rude, but when he was blind, it was like kind of more safe for him to be around because it was like he describes it as like a wolf with no teeth. But now that Lawrence can see, he's like, I don't know if you're more in danger now, Aphmau, because now he can see, and meaning he can be more like, I don't know what the word I'm trying to say is. He can attack her because he can see her now, but then also he's like, maybe not, who knows. So Aphmau sets sail for Brightport, and on her way she passes Donna's old like water village, and the water village has disappeared and has turned into this like, it's like a weird dark shrine, and it has like remnants of the blob on it. The blob. So Aphmau gets to Brightport, and on the docks she talks to Azura, and she talks about how Brightport is actually now at war. Brightport's also at war now. Brightport got out of war with the werewolves, and now they're in war with another village, and that village's name is Picaro. Lord Burt had gone to the village to talk about a peace treaty, but he hasn't returned, and it's been like 2 weeks. So apparently Zane was there and asked Lord Burt if he wanted to join the Ocassus alliance, and Lord Burt like declined. He was like, I don't really know. But then his village gets ambushed by Picaro village soldiers, and Ocassus guards offered like their assistance. They're like, oh no, you got attacked. We can protect you against Picaro village. That's a suspicious time for an attack to happen, but okay. Aphmau asks Azura, like, if he went to go do this peace treaty, why is she here and not with Lord Burt? Azura's just like, well, jury of 9 members were here, which I'll mention in a bit, but basically, like, if a jury of 9 member is at your village, they outrank any guard there, meaning that, like, in that he offered a jury of 9 member to go to Picaro village, and so Lord Burt had to take him up on the offer because a jury of 9 member can't say no to them, so Azura had to stay behind. But because Azura had to stay behind, all the Ocassus guards are trying to convince the people that Lord Burt is actually a terrible a terrible, terrible lord. In short, the jury of 9 members, like I said, are guards, and they basically are like this group of like really high skilled guards, and because they're in this like jury, they get like magical powers, and they're just like really, really freakishly strong, is essentially the moral of the story. They're like a really strong club. Azra says that she was trying to leave to go check on Lord Bert, but no one has been allowed to leave Brightport since Ocas's has taken over. Aphma's like, okay, well, I guess I'll make a pit stop in Brightport. So she goes to, if you remember like a bajillion episodes ago, last time she was in Brightport, she had like this home away from home. So she goes to her home away from home. And I don't really know why the episode's called Another Statue. There is another statue in Brightport. Like when they off the docks, there's a statue of this guy we've never seen before, but they never bring it up. So I don't know why it's called that, but whatever. Episode 61, Runaway. So Aphmau is actually locked in her home because of a curfew. And so Kiki kind of starts tweaking and freaking out. So no, Cass's guard enters the house and is like, if you don't shut her up, we'll shut her up for you. And Aphma's like, sorry, do you know who I am? She pulls the do you know who I am card. She's like, I am the Lord of Phoenix Drop. And then the guard's like, perfect. And then she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, like High Priest Zane has been looking for you because he wants to marry you. And Aphma's like, what? And then Zane says that her blind fiance was mauled to death by a werewolf. So she was grieving, and Zane's like, I'll marry you. And then like Emma said yes. And then he's like, we should have a double wedding with Gareth. And the Daughter of Scales wins. I don't know. I just thought that was so fucking funny. And it's like, he's saying this in front of Kiki, and Kiki's like supposedly in love with Zane. A lot of weird stuff happened between the like Zane wanting to marry Aphmau things. Oopsies. It's weird. So yeah, now she's trapped in her home, and to fix the plot hole of her just being able to kind of dig her way out, there's bedrockium under the house, so she cannot escape, because then also on all sides of the walls there are guards. We learned that Zane actually gave Kiki a pendant, and you know how the last gift we learned went. So Aphmau's like, okay. Someone breaks in the house, the bedrockium, and we meet Nicole. Nicole's one of my favorite characters. I love Nicole. All of my favorite characters come in this journey that she's about to endeavor on. So we meet Nicole, and she breaks through the bedrock with her like iron claws, and Nicole freaks out because she sees guards outside of the house, and she's like, are they here for me? Are they here for me? I was like, why would they be here for you? They're here for me. Like, I'm locked in here and I don't have a way out. And Nicole's like, oh, good. And I was like, why would they be looking for you? And she's like, oh, I like ran away from home. Twitch with my fingers. Nicole tells Aphmau that Ocassus is trying to bring back the monarchy system, which I talked about when they were like, oh, Garth is in line for being the next lord. That's literally a monarchy. Anyways, so the rest of the episode, Aphmau is trying to help Nicole find her fox, because her fox kind of like helps her get out of caves, because it can like sense breezes or something, because they need to find a different way out of the cave because their original way out was covered in Ocassus guards. Episode 62, Princess Aphmau. Aphmau finds another place to get out, but it is also swarming in guards. So she's like, Aphmau, I'm gonna give you a makeover with the extra disguise stuff that she has from when she ran away from home and used disguise. But here's the thing, it's never like mentioned after that she's wearing a disguise, and I genuinely wish that they would go back and kind of like explore that, and because I'm kind of curious, like, what did Nicole look like before the disguise, because in the next season, I don't want to spoil it, but Nicole still looks like this. So I think they forgot that was supposed to be a disguise, but wherever. So Aphmau gets a makeover. New Aphmau skin. think this was my favorite Minecraft skin out of all of the fits she has in season 1. Anyways, so they find a way out of the cave. It's covered in Ocastus guards, but they're like, oh, you have a fox with you? Okay, that makes sense why you were in the caves. You don't look like miners, but I believe you. And they're like, okay. So Aphmau makes it to the werewolf tribe's village, and Nicole's like, I don't trust werewolves, so I'm going to stay on the outskirts of town. And then we run into Kiva. I don't have a Kiva thing, but I have an extra Kiara thing. She looks exactly like Kiara, so I think I'm just going to put up the extra Kiara I have. Okay, so Aphmau runs into Kiva, and she says that Kiki's injured, and then she's like, Kiki smells weird. Has she run into anything strange lately? Kiva says something about Kiki having magics. That's not elaborated on. Aphmau tells Kiva about the pendant, and the Kiva's like, can I see the pendant? I want to look at it. It, like, if she ran into something strange and that's what smells weird, I want to look at it. So Aphmau gives her the pendant, and then she goes to visit Boldoff, which now looks like a dog, because apparently, like, when they're injured, they just look like a normal wolf or something. I don't know. Anyways, episode 63, the pendant. Kira tells Aphmau that the pendant that Kiki is holding has a baby. Has a baby inside of it. Whose baby? Zane's baby. How messed up is that? How messed up is that? That's crazy. So the wolf tribe's pretty pissed off at Zane because they think that Zane was the one that started the war between them and the other wolf tribe, which is this one. I forgot if they were the southern or eastern wolf tribe. I forgot. So this guy's just named Alpha, and he's just going to represent the entire wolf tribe. Kiara talks more about Kiki's magic, and Aphmau's like, oh, Kiki has magic, even though it's been mentioned like 2 times before. It's just never really been like elaborated on. Aphmau asked Boldoff's wife about Kiki, and she says if that she didn't, this is Kiara, Kiara says if she didn't exist, Kiki would probably be at Boldoff's side. And I'm like, that's such a weird thing to say. Sometimes I feel like the romantic pasts, like I was saying with like Azura, and now like with Kiki, is just like, we don't really need to know that, and it kind of just like feels forced on us just like a little bit. The wolves tell Aphmau that if she wants to help, she can help barricade the village. While she's building like the wall, she runs into 2 people. We meet Dante, he's one of my faves, and Donna's with Dante, and they're like looking around for help. Donna tells Aphmau that she was taken hostage by this werewolf tribe, and that's why she hadn't returned to Phoenix Drop in a bit. Honestly, at this point, I forgot that those 2 existed. I'm gonna be honest, and I'm gonna be for real. Logan, so basically what happened is Logan got sad because he didn't really know anything about like his werewolf heritage. Well, not like heritage, but anything about being a werewolf. So they were like, okay, why don't we just explore that for the rest of our honeymoon? So then they stumbled upon this werewolf tribe, but Logan looks like these werewolves. He looks like the werewolves that Ware used to sing, and not these ones. Not these ones. So they took Logan hostage because he smells like this tribe, which is the tribe that they're at war with. And that when they were in prison, that's where they met Dante. Donna and Dante were released because the high priest Zane told the wolves to let all of the humans go. But since Logan isn't full human, he's like half werewolf, he had to stay there. So Dante Dante, his little backstory is that he had just left the guard academy, and then he just stumbled in with the wrong crowd and got kidnapped by a bunch of werewolves. I don't know why, but I just think that is so funny. Dante wants to go back to save Logan because Logan had saved Dante from starvation, and Aphmau wants to go with him to, like, because one of her villagers has gotten kidnapped, and Aphmau's a good person, even though Logan sucks. So then they leave in the morning. Nicole runs up to Aphmau and says that she has spotted, like, a pack of wolves from this tribe, and that she's probably she's gonna stay in this village because no one there is, like, a fighter. All of the people there are like children and like healers because all of their like fighters went off to war, but we never see them in the area that like the war is being fought in at all. I don't know, just fun little detail. Episode 64, Journey to the Wolves. Aphma goes to the nether portal to kind of check it out. I forgot to mention in the last episode she also checked it out, and there are like now weird wither flowers there for some reason. I don't know. Kiki has awake now, and then Kiva suggests that they throw out the pendant and do not tell Kiki about the baby. Aphma's being pro-choice, and she's like, why don't we let Kiki decide that? Like, we can't make that decision for her. This is Kiki's baby. So they go in there, and Aphma's like, did you prick your finger on this pendant? And she's like, yeah, I saw a hole, so I was like running my finger over it, and then I got pricked, and then it like went away. So then Aphma tells Kiki, okay, well, this pendant has your baby inside of it. And Kiki's really happy about it. She's like, oh, I've always wanted a baby. So Kiki has decided that she wants to keep the pendant because she's always wanted a baby. Before they go, Aphma has to find horses, and she, quote, frolics with the horses. As she gets them, Aphma and Dante make their way to the wolf tribe. And while they're walking there, they stumble upon... Do you remember that, like, cage that Lord Bert was holding? So episodes ago when Aphma first originally went to the nether to save Lord Bert and Kiva. Well, she stumbles upon that cage, like cave, whatever again, prison, and it's covered in the blob. The blob is invading. Oh, it was back in episode 19. Episode 65, Our Fears. Okay, in my notes I wrote, I love this episode, so apparently I love this episode. Dante gives Aphma some winter clothes. Winter clothes time for Aphma. All of the costume changes. As they go into like the more snowy region, because that's why she's in winter clothes now, they run into a pack of wolves, and they start to chase Aphma and Dante, and then they find this like abandoned castle. They find this abandoned castle, so they run into the abandoned castle, but then Dante says that he was like, either I wasn't aware of my surroundings when me and Donna were running away, but I don't remember this castle being here. Then they decide to split up and explore the castle. Aphma discovers some books that are quite strange. They say, they talk about how his power is growing at such a fast rate that we can't control it. Me and my wife will do whatever it takes to get our son back, even if it involves magic. She finds another book, and it says, how is it doing? You haven't responded to any of our messages. Another book says, you monster, how dare you? I will send all of my guards after you because of this. And then Aphma finds Dante passed out on the ground. And there's a monster standing there, and the monster's like, I wonder what your biggest fear is, because this spirit monster guy can, like, kind of, their power is that they can show you what you fear most. And then we just see Phoenix drop burning to the ground, and then he's like, basic, you want to know what this guy is fearing? And then he shows us, and it's the nether, and the nether with the blob. Okay. So Lawrence and Garth decide to find Aphma, and so they go to the castle, and then the monster's like, ooh, new little pay toys. So the monster puts Aphma and Dante into like this glass box over like the corridors? Whatever, the entrance to the castle, because that's where Lawrence and Garth are, and then Aphma and Dante, like, the spirit has created like mirages of them, whatever I want to say, and they come down to the center of the stairs, because the staircase, like one of those Y ones, and they're at like this part of it, and then they start kissing, and then so their biggest fear, Lawrence's biggest fear, and Garth's biggest fear is Aphma having a boyfriend. That is their biggest fear, and that is just so funny to me, because, oh my god, look what I found! I knew I printed it out. Ingrid is never really talked about for the rest of the time, but I'm putting it up there because I fucking found it. Yes. I just looked down on the floor and I found it. Anyways, like, you know, Lawrence was in the nether and was tortured for weeks or months or whatever. Garth is forced to get married, and their biggest fear is Aphma having a boyfriend. Lawrence and Garth go up to the mirage and, like, hit it, and then it turns into a little ghost boy specter. His name's Malachi, but Aphma calls him Malachi, which it's like, you picked out the name, did you not? Why are you pronouncing it wrong? She then says Malachi for the rest of the series, but she says Malachi for this entire episode, and I don't know why. But we learn that Malachi is actually, like, kind of in charge of the castle, and the reason that Dante and Donna didn't see it originally is because he moves the castle around because he's, like, been looking for his parents, and then the letters that Aphmau found, like, those books were letters written to the guy who had lived there, and the guy who had lived there accidentally pushed Malachi out of a window, and Malachi had died. The letters that were written that Aphmau had found, the books, were actually about Malachi and his parents. It was basically what happened is his parents sent Malachi to this guy because they were like, we can't control his powers, we need your help. And this guy was trying to help him, but he got angry and pushed Malachi out of a window. And then Malachi died. Garth and Lauren say they're there because they want to be by her side when they fight the wolf tribe. I don't remember how they learned about this. Truthfully, I forgot. It might have had something to do with Raven. Aphmau then decides to adopt Malachi because she already takes so much care of her other child. Episode 66, Malachi's moving castle. So when Malachi tries to leave, he's actually tethered to the castle. So he can't leave. So guess what? Exorcism time. They have to go find a priest or a monk to do an exorcism. So they find a side quest. They do a side quest because screw Logan. Like, if this were me, and I don't know, personally, I'd be like, okay, we'll come back for you. Which I know would suck, but it's like, literally this guy is being held prisoner. But Dante's like, if you guys can't find a monk, I'll stay here, and then you can come back and we'll figure it out. So at least there's, like, that plan. Aphmau goes off to look for a monk, and then she finds, like, this little baby owl named Owlie, and she gets surrounded by werewolves while she's trying to pick up this owl. And then this guy called the Stranger appears, and he kills all of the werewolves. Episode 67, Cry of the Wolf. So Aphmau talks to the mysterious stranger, and he continues to be really mysterious and runs away. She takes the owl, and then she discovers, like, these kind of campground things. And the owner of the camp tells Aphmau that there is a strange monk, and his name is Damien. You guys don't even know how strange this guy is. I was thinking about putting him up here just because of how strange he was, but then I was like, okay, I'm already printing out like 83 images. I don't want to waste more paper. I care about the environment, okay? She finds Damien, and this man talks in rhymes, and he is strange, but also, like, I love him, and he's so iconic because his rhymes are so silly, and he just is like, to hire me, I need... What does he need? 10 blocks of diamonds, and Aphmau's like, I got you, and hires him. They go back to the castle, and he no longer is talking in rhymes, and he says, I finally found you, Malachi. And he has been searching for him for years. He performs the exorcism, and we learn that the guy that pushed Malachi out of the window is actually one of his ancestors, and that his family was actually cursed, and they broke the curse from the family. But he was like, Damien was like, I still wanted to find you and still set you free from this castle. But apparently this happened like 900 years ago. And what had actually happened was he didn't push Malachi out of the window due to anger. He pushed Malachi out of the window because he was like starting to go insane, because at the time Malachi couldn't control his like powers of showing people like what they fear most. Like now he can, but back then he couldn't. So this guy was like actually going insane because he kept seeing like all of like his biggest fears. So it wasn't really out of frustration. He just had gone crazy and accidentally pushed him out of the window. Episode 68, Garth's past. So Aphmau tells Garth about the marriage stuff and about how Zane wants to marry Aphmau and like is going around telling people that her blind fiance was mauled by a werewolf. Lawrence comes out and he starts shit talking Garth about how his dad has gone bananas and that he needs to do the right thing and marry the daughter of Scaleswind so that he can take control and be the Lord of Ocassus. And then Garth gets really fucking angry about that. And then Lawrence also brings up the thing that Nicole was talking about, how he's trying to bring back the monarchy and Garth needs to just go back and disband it. And like honestly, I don't agree with Lawrence. But also, like, Ocassus is going around killing so many people. Like, Zane is being such a little menace to everybody. If Garth just went there, married the daughter of Scaleswind, became Lord, he could stop all of this. I'm not saying he's selfish, but if he really wants to help people, that's the way he can help people. I'm just saying. And then Garth's like, yeah. And then Lawrence brings up Xenix, and then they start to get in a fight. The girls are fighting. They're fighting. This is their first the girls are fighting moment. Garth brings up the prospect of war with Ocassus. Says after they save Logan, he is going to travel to Ocassus to talk to his father. And Aphma's like, I'll come along. And it's like, girl, why? If you go there, Zane is gonna force you to marry him. I'm confused. And it's like, Garth, why? And then Garth's like, okay. And it's like, no, you're her guard. You should say, no, you shouldn't come, because that's literally a terrible idea. It's god awful. So Lawrence tells Aphma that he actually knew Xenix, in that he was really powerful and led armies, and that, like I had said earlier, he literally just, he went crazy and murdered like entire armies of people. Girls decide to make up, and then they all go off and look for horses. Aphma looks around the castle because Malachi says that she can take whatever she wants, and she finds a bunch of backpacks. And she takes them, and then she finds where Malachi was actually killed. She almost falls off the edge of where Malachi was killed, but then a ghost appears, and it was the ghost of the guy that killed Malachi, and he just goes like, thank you, I'm finally free. So I guess he was also haunting the castle or something, and he finally like ascends to the gods or whatever, I don't know. And then while she's looking around, she finds the blob. The blob is in the castle! The blob is everywhere, okay? But all the boys return with horses. Episode 69, Eastern Wolf Tribe. Oh, okay. This is the Eastern Wolf Tribe, and this is the Southern Wolf Tribe. Confirmed. Okay, I remember now. I love these winter episodes. They're my favorite. The crew is kind of halfway there, but then they got lost, and they blame Dante. Free my man. He's done nothing wrong, okay? This man was running from his life, from the werewolves with a woman he was trying to protect, and they all keep blaming him. So Aphma, they're okay, let's go to the high grounds. It's not over, Anakin, and I have the high ground. I'm so silly and quirky. So then so Dante goes and talks to her, and then they see a wyvern, and Dante's like, oh my god, a wyvern, I'm gonna go kill it. And Aphma's like, no, don't go and kill it. And then the boys explain to Dante, like, Garth's like, this is mine, don't kill it. And it is a letter from Raven. Raven says that Levin is fine and talking. Alexis has shrunk in size, and apparently the magic they pointed out is acting kind of like the same way as it was impacting Sean Connery. But it can't be the same magic, because if it is the same magic, Alexis would be dead, because Alexis isn't an animal. She is a human being. Unless babies aren't humans. Let's be real now. I guess babies aren't human. And then there haven't been any signs of Ocassus guards. And then they ask Raven to go scout around for the Wolf Tribe, and Raven leads them to the Wolf Tribe's base. And then they realize that no one has a plan, and they all blame Dante. And Dante's like, why am I responsible for it? I was running away for my life, like, immediately when I got out. Are you kidding me? Anyways, Malachi decides that he's going to go invisible and kind of, like, survey the area. But right as he leaves, the wolves find him. They take all of them prisoner. Then the wolves take Aphma to the Alpha Wolf. Alpha Wolf makes fun of the other wolves, saying that all humans hate them. And Aphma's like, no, I'm friends with the werewolves. And he's like, all humans hate werewolves, but Alpha Human. And then she's like, who is Alpha Human? Apparently Zane is Alpha Human, and that he takes care of them. Okay. He apparently, I'll talk about that later. But then they get thrown in prison, and Aphma is actually in the same cell as Logan. And then we meet my all-time favorite character, Lucinda. I love Lucinda. She's so sassy and amazing, and I love her. She's my favorite character. Yeah, she's my favorite. I love Nicole and Dante as well, but Lucinda will always have my heart forever. Forever and always. Anyways, Lucinda has a plan to get out of the prison, but her power isn't strong enough because she's missing her familiar. Guess who her familiar is? Owlie the Owl. And we learn that his name's actually Bigglesworth. And then Lucinda begins to plot her plan. Episode 70, Lucinda's plan. It's a prison break episode. So Lucinda has this thing where she calls Aphmau sweet buns, and I love it. Lucinda tells Aphmau to eat the soup that she made and says to say goodbye to your son and Logan because Aphmau might not come back. We love a blunt queen. I love being blunt. People hate it. I love it. It's like, she says another iconic quote, and she says, trying will get you nowhere, sweetheart. Doing will. A quote to live by. A quote to live by, Lucinda, 2015. 2015. It might have been 2016 at this point, I don't know. She gives Aphmau a moonstone, and the soup and the moonstone together, they turn her into a baby pup. I forgot to mention that Malachi's back. Malachi's in the prison now. He phased through the wall. Malachi then phases Aphmau through the wall, and then Lucinda turns him into Aphmau so that no one will be suspicious that she's gone, because no one knows that Malachi exists here. So she needs to go and get the staff from the Bears magic person, because that's the only way they can all get out, because magic isn't working because of the barrier around it. Aphmau overhears the wolves talking about how Zane wants the woman human, and they decide if they want her so bad, then they should keep her, and if he tries to take her, they will get their skulls smashed in. Yeah, sure, that will definitely work. Zane is notorious for being easy to defeat. She wanders around for a bit, finds the staff, and then goes to the horses because she wants to check in on the horses. And then she turns into a human, and it's like, girl, if you didn't screw around, then you would have gotten back in time to the prison before you turned into a human. But anyways, she still is able to break them out, and they all run off on their horses, and then Lucinda flies away on her little broomstick. Okay, episode 71, A Friend in Need. So they go to Lucinda's tower, and Lucinda's like, you shouldn't leave because Logan needs to rest and heal before you go anywhere. And Dante says, no offense, are you a medical witch? And then she says, no offense, are you? And then Dante gets so unbelievably pissed off at her. Garth is still being a little Debbie Downer about Xenix, though, and it's like, get over it. Xenix hasn't been spotted since, the Wyvern episode. Is that the last time Xenix was spotted? Or no, was it when he destroyed the village? I don't remember. It's one of those ones. Even Lawrence is saying how stupid it is that Garth still isn't over Xenix, and that he says that his pride is, admirable, but it's also dumb in his downfall, because he points out that Garth will put his entire heart into the people that he loves, and that is basically what his downfall is. And then that's what's happened with Xenix, is he put his entire heart into Xenix, and now he won't stop fucking crying about it. You know, he just murdered a bunch of people and turned out to be a psychopath. But, keep that in mind for later. That critique of Garth in mind for later, because I do agree with that critique, a lot. Aphmau talks to Dante, and he's, being, still butthurt over Lucinda's comeback. And I love Lucinda. Dante's I don't know if any lord would want me, because of my hot temper. It's, my downfall. And then Aphmau's do you want to be a part of my village? And he's like, oh, this is so sudden. And it's literally acting like it was a marriage proposal. Even Aphmau says in her own words, he was acting like I was proposing to him. And it was just really funny. So she goes to talk to Lucinda, and she says, Princess needs to get her hands dirty and do a task for me, but you can't bring your lover boys with you, all your boyfriends with you, because in order to heal Logan, she needs an eldritch eye, because that'll be act as an x-ray, so she'll be able to see Logan's bones, I think is the purpose of it. And that she needs to go into the caves and get them, and that she can't bring her boyfriends along, because if a male eldritch will smell the hormones or whatever, that they will most likely die, because the kings are freakishly powerful. So while she's running away, she runs into Malachi, and Malachi's can I come? And Aphmau's of being the mother of the year is yeah, of course you can come, don't worry about it. And it's I know he's a ghost, so he doesn't, of course, have hormones, but it's a principle of the thing. Why are you bringing your child on this dangerous adventure? But, I guess at least she's, interacting with him. That's more than I can say about Levin. I will never shut up about that. That poor child is neglected by his mother, I swear to God. And then she goes into the caves, she finds the queen, and like when she's killing these things, they drop like paintings and candles. I don't know why, it's such a weird item to drop, but then she gets the Eldritch Eye and gives it back to Lucinda. Episode 72, Picaro Village. They set up camp outside of Lucinda's house, and then Garth goes to talk to Aphmau. And then Aphmau's like, I'm so sad about Levin. And it's like, how can you be sad about someone you don't even know because you don't interact with your child? Anyways, so then Garth says that he's doing perfectly fine. And then was like, wait, no, but he misses you. And I even taught him how to call you mom. And it's like, that is so sad. Like, that is just so unbelievably sad. Mother of the year. Like, he literally had to teach Levin to call her mom. Anyways, after that, Garth starts to hit on Aphmau, and he says, your smile is very bright in the moonlight. And then he immediately remembers about Brightport. And then he remembers about how Lord Bert is missing. And then when he ran into Azura in Brightport, Azura was like, if you are by Picaro Village, can you, like, Pika go? Just kidding. She didn't say that. Can you go into Picaro Village and, like, check on Lord Bert, maybe? I can't leave this village. Because if you remember, he's there on a peace treaty, and he's been there for 2 weeks. Then Lawrence comes out of the tent, and he says that they should make an alliance, like Dale had said a few episodes ago. And Garth says, oh, shit. You're awake. But Lawrence says that they need to go save Lord Bert, because if they go save Lord Bert, then Brightport will join the alliance if they create it, and then that they already have Metelli because him and Cadenza are from there, so they basically have Metelli in a bag, and that their end goal should be to get Scaleswind, because if they get Scaleswind, no one will really want to mess with them, because that's where Lady Irene was like the lord of that village, meaning that like if you attack it, then a lot of like the religious people will be like angry and stuff. So then he says that they should get some sleep, especially smooth moves Garth, and Garth's like and he starts freaking out and then runs away. They wake up and Aphmau tells Dante the plan, and he says, of course, my lord. And Aphmau's like, what? And he's like, is that not a good way of telling you that I accept your proposal? He didn't say that, but I just... is that not a good way to say that I accepted your proposal of me becoming your lord? Or wait, to me becoming your guard? So Lawrence agrees that the meeting that the lords are having is super suspicious because, like I said, he was originally apparently supposed to be there for, like, less than 2 days, but it's been 2 weeks, like I've said, like, multiple times. But he was like, we might run into some issues with the jury of 9 members. And then, okay, so now we learn jury of 9 member lore, like full-on lore. So I'm just going to have to stare at my phone the entire time so I get this correct. So basically the way the guard system was set up was not by Lady Irene, but it was decided that she decided how, like, the power was split up. So, like, split up the monarchy, decided the lord system. And then it was created by Xavier, the Guard of Light, also known as Lady Irene's admirer. The jury of 9 was established so that the people who wanted to interact with her would need to go through them because she was constantly getting bombarded. Because I guess if you save an entire world from a war, like a hundreds of year war, then you're like a god or whatever. But I don't know if you remember me mentioning that statue in Brightport from the episode that was called, like, The Statue. But that statue was actually of Xavier, and he was called her admirer because rumor was that he loved her, but then, like, she didn't love him back. But then she did have a family, but it was, like, kept on the DL, and no one actually knew anything about her family. Like, no one knew who she was married to or who her children were. So I think it's weird. Like, if you know, I guess you would know if you're a descendant of Lady Irene, but then I guess it would be hard to figure out who the descendants were of Lady Irene. So then, like, you know, going back to the Shadow Lord trying to get Levin and killing the original Lord of Phoenix drop because they were, like, direct descendants. I don't know, I figured that out. But then something you kind of, like, realize, we'll see throughout the series is kind of, like, similarities? That's the right word. Between, like, the dynamic of Lady Irene and the people she interacted with, and then the people that Aphmau interact with as well. Because, like, the admirer can be compared to Lawrence, like, 100%. But back to why the jury of 9 will be a problem, because supposedly there's multiple in the village, because throughout time they have come more and more and more corrupt and powerful. And then this is concerning because it might be able to take out Lawrence and Garth even with Dante if they go there with her, because it would be like suspicious if these guards were going with this woman, because they probably don't know who Aphmau is. So Lucinda says that Logan is going to make a full recovery. Aphmau asks where Picaro Village is, and Lucinda says, wow, is this some sort of Lord venture that I, a simpleton, can know nothing about? And Aphmau's like, no. And she is so proud of Sweet Buns because Sweet Buns decided to tell her, like, what they were going to do. Then she starts crying. She tells her where Picaro Village is, but then she's like, Picaro Village, like, hates magic users, though. They, like, hate magic users. But then they also, like, associate witches in there, but witches aren't magic users. Like, I mentioned that a while ago when we were first introduced to Kawaii-chan. She was introduced as, like, a witch, but she's not a witch. She's a magic user. Yeah. And then they also hate, like, supernatural things, so Malachi can't come either. Garth tells Aphmau that she needs to go there alone because they don't want her to know that she's a lord, because if the Lord of Brightport is being held captive, they don't want her to also be held captive. So he gives her a communication stone, and then off she goes to Picaro Village. When she gets there, it is swarming with Okassis guards. There are Okassis guards everywhere. And then when she gets there, there is a, like, curfew, because everywhere there's Okassis guards, there's a curfew. Where, like, you need to go stay in this hotel. So then she goes to the hotel. It's 20 diamonds a night, and it is the only hotel in the village. I mean, she has them. She has the diamonds. Oh, my God. Whatever. Anyways, the missing lord. Oh, my God. This is such a long one. I'm going to have a hard time remembering everything that's in this episode. So, episode 73, The Missing Lord. So, Garth calls her on the communication stone, and she tells him that there are a bajillion Okassis guards there. And he said, okay, like, if you're in trouble, break this stone, and it'll break on my end, and then we'll know to come and get you. She decides to talk to the innkeep, and the innkeep gives her back diamonds, because he's like, I feel bad that you're being forced to stay here. I know your visit isn't going to be as nice because you're being forced to stay here, so you can just stay here for free. And then he reveals that the Lord of Picaro Village is supposedly in Brightport, but he's not, because we were just at Brightport. So where is the Lord of Picaro Village, and where is the Lord of Brightport? Because the Lord of Brightport's supposed to be here to sign the peace treaty, but the Lord of Picaro Village is in Brightport supposedly signing the peace treaty. So where are they? And then we also learned that the head guard of the village didn't go with the Lord of Picaro Village either. It was a jury of 9 members. In the Picaro Village is like a hotter area, so he's like, you must be so hot in those. My wife will make you new clothes. And let me pull that up. Aphmau asks the innkeep if he has seen anyone with the Lord birth description, and he says no. And then he was like, if people are wearing red, they're either like high power or attention whores. And I just think that's funny. So she decides to knock on everyone's door in the hotel, and she just, breaks into some of them, and she goes into the one that's next door, and in the book it says the girl next door is cute, because of course it does. Then she knocks on this one guy's door, and she breaks into his room, and he looks so unbelievably suspicious, and then he, like, kicks her out, though, because she broke into his room. She then meets the innkeep's wife, who's the one that made the fit. She isn't, like, doing anything now, but this is important for next episode. And Aphmau walks around the village and asks everyone if they have seen anyone with the description of Lord of Brightport. And everyone says no, but go to the tavern. You might find some information there. So she heads to the tavern, and and then she kind of is like asking around about lords, and the bartender's like, don't ask about lords here. There's a jury of 9 member over there. So then we meet Jeffrey, and he is one of the jury of 9 members. And he goes over and offers to buy Aphmau a drink, so, because of course he does. And then she's like, oh, I don't drink, but literally, like, right before that, she asks the bartender for a drink, and I just thought it was funny. And then she was like, but I'll have lunch, though. So then they sit down, and then, of course, he's bragging about how he's a jury of 9 member. When they begin to chat, Jeffrey says that he thinks Zane is a little brat, and that he actually doesn't like Zayn and that he's one of the only people in the jury of 9 that like just don't like Zayn and just refuse to listen to Zayn. And he says this is because he actually has like a little girl and a daughter that's looking up for him, and then he like proceeds to show her a bunch of photos of his daughter, and he's like, basically he's like, I have someone relying on me, therefore like I just don't want to listen to what Zayn's doing because what Zayn's doing is bad, which is important for later. So Ahmed was like, don't you have a wife then? And he's like, oh, she's dead. And it's like, oh, wait, to spoil the mood of the date. Ahmed, way to dapper the mood. Anyways, he says that he needs to get going because the well isn't going to guard itself. Why would you say that? So Ahmed's like, okay, there's definitely something happening at the well. So she then calls Garth and tells him what's what. And then he's like, okay, we will make a distraction so you can head to the well. Episode 74, Beneath the Well. So Ahmed talks to the innkeep's wife, and her name's Amethyst, and she says that she thinks this whole, like, taking over the village, like, Okassa's taking over this village, and, like, the war with Brightport was, like, actually planned. Important for later. So then they start the plan, and basically it is Lawrence, Garth, and Dante throwing eggs at the guards to get their attention. And Ahmed was like, why did you throw eggs? And he was like, well, it's because this won't get us arrested because we're not harming them, but it will be a good enough distraction for them want to change us. And you know what? Honestly, smart idea. So she goes down the well, and guess what she finds? She finds a giant room with both of the lords. We have Lord Bert, and then this is Lord Luke. I spelt his name wrong. Lord. We see Lord Bert and Lord Luke, and they're laying on podiums, like the one that Alexis was laying on back in episode, 51, 52? And then, like, Lawrence was laying on when he was in the Nether. And it is covered in fire, and it is covered in netherstone, and Jeffrey walks in. Oh, this is Jeffrey. He walks into the room, and he says that he knew it was her. He knew it was Ahmed. And it's like, okay, then why would you mention the well if you knew it was her? And that's where you're literally holding the people she's looking for prisoner. Ain't make no sense. And he says this because he could sense her magic, because I forgot to mention Kawhi Chen said this. But back when she was tweaking out about, like, you know, the whole everything being out of balancing, Kawhi Chen does mention that everyone has magic and they just need to tap into it. I forgot to mention that. That was, like, a super important quote that I just never said. Anyways, so, yeah, if you think back to what Kawhi Chen said, that kind of makes a little sense what Jeffrey said. So Jeffrey said that he is going to take her to Zayn, but Ahmed tries to convince him not to do that. And he's like, why should I listen to you? All you lords are the same. All you do is sit on your butt. And he's kind of just, like, continues to talk about his hatred for lords. It's kind of like what Xenix was saying. So it's a very, like, I guess it's a very Shadow Knight mentality. Jeffrey's not a Shadow Knight, but it is a very Shadow Knight-like mentality to have, I guess, this hatred for lords because you're like, they do nothing, I do everything, they're so stupid and dumb. So Ahmed does convince him, though, to let her and the other lords go by guilting him and talking about his daughter, and she escapes with the lord. While she's escaping, she runs into more guards, and they start chasing her and shooting at her. And the quality of the cutscenes at this point have actually gotten, like, really high quality. Like, the cutscene of them of Lawrence throwing eggs at the guards was really high quality. And so is this cutscene that's about to happen. Ahmed gets, like, distracted, and one of the guards are trying to hit her, but then, like, Garth blocks it with his sword. And you know what? I feel bad for Lord Bert. Lord Bert has been kidnapped 2 times and like related to the Nether. This poor man. I don't even think Brightport is, like, the most super prosperous village. It's definitely, like, bigger now, like, than the first time originally we went. But this poor guy, this poor man, and maybe it's just because he's one of the lords that have, like, healing magics, which I guess is, like, it is a really good important magic, but then also, like, I feel so bad for this man. Anyways, this is a kidnap chase. So they go back to Lucinda's house, and she says that she can't wake them because she doesn't know how to break dark magic. But then Lucinda starts to freak out because Lord Luke is there, and Lord Luke is the, you know, Lord of Picaro Village, and Picaro Village hates magic users. And then we learn Lucinda is his daughter. They are related, and that she actually hates him because he banished his wife and Lucinda after they found out they were witches. But the whole being a witch thing also confuses me. Side note. Well, no. I'll go on this tangent a little later about this witch, the confusion of the witch thing. But anyways, she said that she wants him out because people are going to think that she kidnapped him. He actually wakes up and then he hugs Lucinda and apologizes profusely and saying that he never hated her. He did it to protect her because he was afraid that the people were going to kill her because she was a witch. But you're the lord of the village. Can't you just say, guys, don't kill her or else I'm going to put you in jail? Oh, whatever. So Lawrence says that the room that they were found in was a Shadow Knight ritual meeting. So that means that there's a Shadow Knight in the village. Dante says that he was surprised that Jeffrey had actually let her go and that he lives up to his name and he's called Jeffrey the Golden Heart. And it's not because he has a golden heart, it's because his weapon is gold and is referred to as a heart. So Jeffrey. But then also he was surprised to learn that he actually had a daughter, because we learn when you're in the jury of 9 you kind of have to leave all of your family behind and kind of abandon your personal life. Episode 76, Shadow of Picaro. So Dante says that he feels weird about the alliance that Lawrence, Aphmau, and Aphmau are discussing, because that's actually how the monarchy of the king, that the evil king, had started. Garth told Lawrence about his relationship with Azura, because of course he did, and that Azura is gonna even Lawrence was confused why he told him this. He was like, I don't know why he told me this. Oh, it's so funny what happens in the future with this information. Azura's relationship, I don't know why. Aphmau's curious and Lawrence are okay. And then Azura arrives, and apparently, like I was saying earlier, a lot of episodes ago, that love is kind of the motif, because Lucinda's love, it doesn't have to be any sort of relationship love, but apparently what happened was Lucinda's love saved Lord Luke and woke him up, because Lord Luke's I don't know, I just sensed this warmth and then I woke up and Lucinda was there. So it's this kind of yeah. Anyways, Azura confesses her love to Lord Bert, and everyone's what the heck? And then nothing happens. And so Dante's you should kiss him, and then she kisses him and it doesn't work. And then Gareth says, then he asks, think about how you felt about me long ago. Is that how you feel about Lord Bert? He has to explain the concept of love to this woman. And refers to back when she was in love with him. And that's just such a weird way to word it. She says that she loves him, but only as, a lord. But the thing is, it's it doesn't necessarily mean, relationship love, because Lord Luke and Lucinda, they're, father and daughter. So, and that woke him up. So who's to say that, a lord and their knight, head guard, won't have, the same loving relationship in a friendship, I care about you family way. But plot hole aside, so everyone decides that they need to find a Shadow Knight, because Shadow Knight is the only one that can get Bert out of this spell. Poor Lord Bert, this poor man, it gets even worse for this guy. So to find this, they decide, so Lucinda turns Aphmau into an owl and puts Garth in a golden lasso, because all of Ocassus knows about Aphmau now, so they're all on high alert. And so she flies around with Garth in this golden lasso, and she goes into all the houses and is just do you sense anything? And he finally pops out, and guess where he pops out? In the inn, in front of the innkeep and his wife Amethyst. Amethyst is the Shadow Knight, this sweet woman that made Aphmau this beautiful dress. But what's really funny is I think we're all supposed to assume that it was that suspicious strange guy that was in one of the rooms next to Aphmau, but no, it was this sweet old lady. So she says that she actually can't break the curse that's on Lord Bert, because she wasn't the only one that did this ritual. She actually had help from Zane, the innkeep, that asks Lawrence what kind of hush money do you want, because his wife is kind of in the same state that Lawrence is in, where she's not immortal, but she is a Shadow Knight. And Lawrence actually says the sweetest life, and he actually says the sweetest thing. He just says to love her dearly. And I don't know, that's just a really sweet thing to say. So they go back and tell Azra that the Lord of Brightport's just gonna have to be in this curse until they find someone that can figure it out, because the lady there can't do it. Poor Lord of Bert. He's just stuck in this state for all of season 1. He never comes out of the curse. He's just stuck in that curse forever. Poor guy. So Azura decides, because when the Lord is not able to do anything, the head guard becomes in power. So Azura decides, until Lord Bert is awake, I will on his behalf join the alliance, and then you can get the final approval when he is awake, which is never. This man does not wake up the entire season. And everyone says goodbye, and we say goodbye to the best character ever in Minecraft Diaries, Lucinda. I love her. But before they go, Lord Luke says that he will also join because the alliance, because he owes Aphmau this favor, because she just saved his freaking life. And she officially names it the Phoenix Alliance, which I feel like she could have gotten a little more creative with that name, but whatever. Episode 77, The Price of War. So they set up camp because Logan's a baby and he can't stay in the Golden Lazo that long. It wasn't like he almost got freaking killed. But Dante wakes up in the middle of the night while Aphmau's kind of doing an introduction, and he's staring so lovingly at the stars. And Dante has taken over the sad boy role, because there's always got to be one sad boy happening. There's always one character that's freakishly sad at the same time. But so we get some Dante lore, and he says that when he was younger, he actually had an older brother, and he was head guard of his village. His brother was really suspicious and private, but he was a really noble knight. He looked over all of his brother's flaws, because his brother was really flawed, because he had this really suspicious life. But his parents were like, you need to look up to somebody. So he's like, okay, I'll look up to my brother. And then one day his brother discovered that he had magics, and that he can actually wipe people's memories and change them. So he fell in love with the Lord's daughter, but she didn't love him back. So he wanted to change her memory so that she did love him. But then the Lord discovered that and decided to execute him. But before he died, he swore vengeance on the village. And then we learn that his brother is actually a Shadow Knight. So when he went back to the village, he erased everyone's memories but Dante's, and said to Dante, someone has to remember. So his brother even erased their parents' memory of Dante. So no one in this village remembers Dante. And it's why did you do that? It was Dante cared about you. He had nothing to do with that. But guess what his brother's name is? Gene! His name is Gene. Gene is Dante's older brother. And he is the one that turned Lawrence into a Shadow Knight. He also tells Aphmau, he's like, I'm going to be honest. You need to know where my allegiance priorities lie. And if I had the chance to protect you or kill my brother, I would kill my brother. So then Lawrence reveals that he was actually listening to Aphmau and Dante the entire time, so that Dante didn't make a move on Aphmau. And then he talks about his memories of Gene when he was in the Nether. So they pass the wolf village that held them hostage, and the entire thing is burned to the ground. The entire thing is burnt to the ground. The Alpha says that it was Zane, and Zane got really mad at him, and they got too absorbed in the power that he was giving them, that they took it too far, and Zane's like, screw you guys, and burnt the entire village to the ground. He then says, can you please take care of my son? He's in the prison that I held you in. So then they go down there and they find a pup. They find this pup, and his name is Yip. He's really scared, but then Logan comes out of the lasso and he turns into a werewolf, because now he can control his werewolf form. And then he tells Yip that Aphmau can be trusted, and guess what Aphmau does? She inherits and adopts another child. But she calls him Dad now, so I thought that was funny. And then when she's leaving there, she points out that Dante, Lawrence, and Garth's weapons are still there, and then I plays it off as some weird conspiracy, but I think it was just she forgot to take the swords out, and instead of ignoring the thing or even doing a retake of the thing, she just addressed it. And it's girl, I'm pretty sure that you just forgot to take them out of the shot. I mean, no dissing. Role plays take so long to do. Like, it takes as long for me to record this video, edit this video, as it does to me making a 20-minute video. And right now this video is at 2 hours, and yesterday the video I did was at 3 hours, and I edited the entire thing, and that took me 4 hours. So it takes equally even longer to do it. So I understand. They make it back to the Southern Wolf tribe, and Donna is reunited with Logan, and it's just really cute. So Kiki is doing way better now. She's taking care of Bulldog, so now they all are like, all right, let's head back to Phoenix Drop. Episode 77, coming home. They just do a bunch of stuff in the Wolf tribe area. Not much really happens. Lawrence alludes that Garth has feelings for Aphmau, and then Garth's like, what are you talking about? I don't. And he's like, Lawrence likes to talk about things that he doesn't know. Like, he just doesn't know, you know? And then the Wolf tribe joins the alliance. Aphmau is collecting all these people like she's the best there ever was, all of these villages. And then after 17 episodes, they finally make it home. Aphmau introduces Yip and Malachi to Levin, and he's like, let's go play, and then they celebrate in the plaza. Episode 78, The Phoenix Rising. There are a bunch of renovations to the town, and now there is a field. Do you remember that house that Zane was staying in? Well, they tore that down and turned it into a field, but here's the thing. It was covered in bedrock, so how did they get rid of the bedrock? Did they have, like, a weapon like Nicole has where they can, like, destroy it or something? I don't know. That's just something I remember, okay? Plot hole. I'm terrible. Just kidding. I don't know if you're watching this. I love you and I love this series. I am just pointing out things to be a dick. Anyway, so Alexis is finally back to her normal age. And they've all actually aged up. So Kyle is also aged up as well. I know I have it printed somewhere, but I lost it because, of course, I did.
Okay, so I actually learned I'm missing a lot of these, and the thing is I actually knocked them all on the floor last night, and then also I keep my fan on high. So they're probably somewhere on my floor. My floor's not even that messy, so I genuinely am like, where are they? Because I'm looking at my stuff now, and I'm also missing a Garth thing, and a Zane thing. So, okay, I gave up. I genuinely have no clue where they can be. I know I printed it out because I actually organized all of those yesterday before they fell on the floor while I was recording. So that's why I'm having trouble finding everything. My floor's not even dirty. I literally have no clue where it could be. Like, some goblin probably took it. Whatever. Anyways, imagine Alexis has hair now, because I'm also missing a Zane one as well. And that was really disappointing because that's actually a really important card. Whatever. I'll just pop it up on the screen whenever. What are the ones I'm missing? I know I printed it out. I saw it with my own 2 eyes at some point. This is honestly really sad. I'm really disappointed. I know this is like a 5-hour series probably, but I should have prepared better. I've learned next time I do this to make duplicates of everything, I guess. Moral of the story. Sorry.
But anyways, yeah, so Alexis is back to her age, and Garth says that he needs to train people in order to prepare for, like, a war, since tensions are rising. Lawrence reveals some new drip that Garth gave him, and he's actually the second in command now. Now, the drip he gave him, I'm not putting up here because it's just gold armor. It's not like a new skin, so I'm lazy. And that's because Dale retired. But then he's like, wait, I wasn't supposed to tell you that. Pretend I didn't tell you that. I wasn't supposed to tell you that, but go talk to Dale. So Aphmau runs into Brendan, and now he's into Nicole. And Corey is no longer a miner. He is a carpenter. So Corey the miner, Emma the farmer. No. He's Corey the carpenter now, and he's actually responsible for most of the him and Brendan are responsible for most of the renovations in the village. Logan reveals that he is a little suspicious of Nicole because he swears he's seen her somewhere before, but he can't remember where because, you know, Logan's traveled like everywhere because he's like a traveling merchant. This is important for later. Brian tells her that the renovations to the field, and now there's also like this new tower. She's like, what? I didn't see that last night. And they're like, yeah, we built it in one night because we wanted it to be a surprise. And this is like iconic. This guard tower is honestly like so iconic. Whenever I used to play like Minecraft role plays on like a creative server with like AFMAT, like with Minecraft Diaries, they always had this tower. This tower is so iconic. If you never played Minecraft role plays on a creative server, I played it on Creative Fun. If you never did that, were you even a Minecraft Diaries fan? Let's be real here. So Aphmau goes to the docks, and now Dale, and he's in a cute little retirement outfit, and I actually have this one. Dale's in his cute little retirement outfit. Yoink. I think the Alexis one's way more important than Dale's retirement fit, but apparently I lost it. Yeah, so his reasoning is he was like, Brian just grew up so fast, like immediately I sent him to guard school, and then after Alexis turning into like a whole human being, I realized that I missed his childhood, and I don't want to miss Alexis's childhood. And then there's like a lot of other things that happen in this episode, but it's just like chitter chatter, and it's not like really that relevant to the plot. Episode 29, episode 79, the little maids in town. Oh my god, this is gonna take another hour for me to go through, isn't it? Aphmau makes a new room for Malachi and Levin, so now they share a room. And she actually has her first conversation with Levin, even though he's been talking for a while because of that episode from like, when was that episode? Right before they went to the Wolf Village. So he's been talking for a while. And then Emma tells Aphmau how Kawaii-chan has been keeping everyone up late at night, and it's getting really annoying because she's like making potions or something. And then she goes to the guard tower, and Corey is also there snitching and like being a little Karen to he's bitching to Lawrence about this. And then so Garth decides that he's gonna go talk to Kawaii-chan, and then Aphmau's like, okay, I'll come along too. And he's like, you and me alone together? Okay, you've been alone together before, shut up. So we learned that all of that noise was actually Kawaii-chan finally making her new maids, because ever since like Aphmau destroyed her maid cafe, she actually hasn't had any maids, because making all of those maids took like a lot of her power. Donna drops that she wants to adopt Yip. She wants to adopt Yip, which is so cute, but she doesn't want to tell Logan because Logan hates kids, and because Yip keeps harassing Logan since Logan is the only werewolf that Yip knows, and he's a kid, and he's like, teach me how to be a werewolf, and Logan's like, I don't even know how to be a werewolf, come on. But to be fair, it's like he's probably traumatized from being held captive by literally this guy's dad. He was held captive, so, you know. Dante sees the little maids because Aphmau's taking them around town, just like in episode 30-something, and he looks at them and he goes, wow, I'd love to fight one of those. You think Kawaii-chan could make me one so I could spar with it? Because when you see a little maid, that is the first thing you think of. So Dante and Aphmau go and talk to Kawaii-chan, and we learn that Dante, like, his personality trait is that he's extremely socially awkward, I guess. And it's like, I don't know, it was a little weird how it was happening, because Aphmau wasn't really a part of the conversation. It was just Dante and Kawaii-chan talking, but then she was using this really soft voice for both of them, and it was just, I don't know why, it was just a really awkward conversation to listen to. Then Dante is like, I swear to God, I've seen her before, but she didn't have cat ears or a tail and wasn't a magic user. It's like, okay, Dante, so she only had pink hair? Like, that's all he says is that he's seen her before, but then, like, the only thing he recognizes about her is the pink hair. Episode 80, a magical showdown. So everyone in town is awakened by, like, this strange noise, and as they go looking around, Aphmau finds Lucinda. So, and it was actually Lucinda moving her house around, and the loud crash was Lucinda's house falling onto the ground, because when she transported her house, because just like Malachi, she can move her house around, it fell too high above the ground. After everyone talks to Lucinda, Aphmau walks back with everybody, and then Lawrence and her stop outside the guard tower, because, you know, Lawrence loves his Aphmau alone time, and he says, you look so beautiful in the moonlight, and she's just like, and then she's like, because then he's like leaning in closer, like, and then she's like, oh, and then he's like, you have a bug on your shoulder, and she's like, oh, okay. And then Lawrence then tells Aphmau, like, being all serious now, that magic users and witches don't actually get along, because there was like some war apparently a while ago that he knows nothing about. So just like when he's giving Lucinda the tour tomorrow, to just like keep that in mind. So next morning, Lucinda shows up at Afma's house with some bread. Zoe approaches Lucinda and they introduce each other, and Afma's like, oh, oh, like looking back and forth. She's like, oh, oh, oh. And it's kind of, I don't know why. I just think it's funny. She's just saying, oh. But they're really chill with each other. And then they invite Lucinda inside to kind of eat breakfast. And then there's another knock at the door. And it's Kawaii-chan. And she shows up to her house to ask Afma about Dante. To be like, how Dante would like the doll. And it's like, okay, Afma doesn't know that much about Dante. Go talk to Dante yourself, you weirdo. So Lucinda and Kawaii-chan actually know each other. And they start arguing. And they decide to have a magical showdown, hence the name of the episode, at the docks between their two little creatures, because, you know, Kawaii-chan has her maids, and then Lucinda has an enchanted iron golem. And Zoe looks at, like, the both of them extremely annoyed. She's like, ugh, this again? Like, what the heck? So Kawaii-chan says that they go way back, and they're actually, like, both from Okasas. So, like, I already mentioned, like, last part 1, that Kawaii-chan is from Okasas, and we also learned that Lucinda's from Okasas too, and that they know each other because Kawaii-chan had a maid cafe there, but then Lucinda moved in across the street. Lucinda came and she's like, I'm starting a maid cafe too, or like some magic cafe. And then the Lord of Okasas was like, okay, we can't have 2 maid cafes because having a witch and a magic user that close to each other is going to cause danger. So then they're like, okay, let's battle for it. And then they cause a huge explosion, and then they're both kicked out of Okasas. Yeah, so then their creatures begin an epic battle, but it's like not really. They're just like hitting each other, like, and then everyone's screaming like, yeah, go, go. And then Kawaii-chan and Lucinda are like, use your magical move. And then there's a huge explosion at the docks. And then they decide to end it in a draw. And then they have like this frenemies rivalry now. So now they're like chill with each other. Episode 81, Fallen Angel. So after many episodes, we finally get 11 episode, and she decides that she's going to make them a tree house, and that this is like a place for them to play, but also if there's like a invasion or an emergency, whatever, that they can go up there, because it's really high up, I guess. But then it's like, dude, there's one exit, so if someone gets up there and your kids are up there, whatever. Anyways, so she decides to make one, and Zoe has a sapling from a place called the Yggdrasil Forest, which is where she's originally from. Not the village Afma took all of those villagers from. Beats me. And basically these saplings can grow really tall, and so Afma's up there building it, and then she sees Gareth, and then she looks down and is like, Gareth, oh my god, Gareth. And then he's like, what are you doing up there? And she's like, building a treehouse, I'll be down in a minute. And then she falls, and we get this scene.
This is the only scene I printed out, but we get this scene. And if you were a part of the Minecraft Diaries fanbase when episode 81 came out, you would see the fan art from this scene right here everywhere. It was everywhere. It was everywhere. I personally was never a Garmouse shipper. Like I said earlier, last episode, I'm not super into shipping. I personally never liked the Garmouse ship, ever. Like, I don't know. No. You will see later why I'm not a fan of it, okay? I'm not a fan of it. But, yeah, if I had to pick between Garth and Lawrence, I would definitely pick Lawrence. The fandom went absolutely wild when this episode came out. It was Garmouse stands between Lawrence stands. Everyone was fighting, or Larmouse, everyone was fighting. The girls were fighting, everyone was fighting.
Episode 82. A boat on water. So Lawrence runs up to Afma's house, and it tells her that there's a giant Okasas ship asking to be docked. And so one of the members is actually a member of the Jury of 9. And if we remember, when we were in Picaro Village, we already met one, and his name was Jeffrey. And Afma was like, okay, I'm going to go to the dock. She grabs all her supplies and goes. And then we meet Lady Caitlin, iconic. Caitlin tries to get Afma onto her ship to kind of discuss things, but then, you know, she's not dumb enough to go onto an Okasas ship. What does she do? Let me take you into my house so you know where I live, and we can talk in there. It's like, girl, go to the guard station. Go to the guard tower. Go literally anywhere besides your house. Don't show people where you live if you view them as hostile. Moral of the story. Anyways, they sit down and they have a little tea time. Caitlin is there because, well, she mentions, like, I'm here because of Zane. And then she's like, Zane has told me you're the apple of his eye, but Zane didn't send me here for you. And then she's like, you're not taking Garth. And she's like, I am not here for Garth either. Actually, the war between Scaleswind and Okasas has started because the daughter of Scaleswind, she got murdered. She was killed. by an Arcassus guard, supposedly. So, but the real reason she's there is because Jeffrey is on trial because he let 2 prisoners go. And they're trying to see if, like, it was on purpose, if it was an accident. Basically, he's going on trial for this. So Lady Caitlin is there to kind of get all the information because she knows that Aphmau was in Picaro Village when these prisoners were there. Aphmau's like, me and him just had lunch. That's all we had. We just ate some foods, and then we parted ways. Caitlin asks if she can stay at the docks because she needs to talk to more people, but she's not welcomed at Brightport because the Lord is sick. You know damn well, Wise, you were not welcomed in Brightport, Caitlin. You know damn well, Wise, you helped kidnap the Lord of Brightport. Anyways, so she says that Lady Caitlin can stay, but if she requests Caitlin to leave, she has to leave. So that's the agreement they come to. Aphmau tells the boys about what happened, and Garth says they have to stay quiet. They have to stay quiet about Jeffrey because if they say anything at all that could incriminate him, he will be immediately executed. In other news, Lucinda discovers what has happened to Alexis and is like, I can wake her. I threw this across my room. And she's just like, oh, I can wake her up. Why didn't you tell me about her? I was like, Lucinda, how are we supposed to know you know how to wake her up? So Lucinda says that she is going to try and fix Alexis. And then at the plaza, the crazy cat lady is there arguing with Donna because her mom is accusing Logan of being a werewolf. And she's like, Mom, you're crazy. Logan is not a werewolf. Episode 83, Guards Upgrade. So Caitlin is at Aphmau's door and she gives her guard outfits. This is one of the ones I'm missing. I have Dante's and Lawrence's though. Let's go! Rip Garth's drip. I don't know where it went. It is probably somewhere with baby Alexis. Garth says that actually he designed these uniforms when he was in guard school, and that the only reason he's going to accept this present from Lady Caitlin is because he's like, I know how good this uniforms are, and he's like, but we're not going to accept them as gifts. We're going to pay for them, so take some diamonds in that chest and give them to Lady Caitlin. So Aphmau's like, A-okay. And then this episode has the iconic table conversation. If you don't know what the table conversation is, are you a Larmouse stan? Are you a Minecraft Diaries fan? Because when this conversation, I don't know what was so iconic about it, but it is so memorable because whenever I did role plays about Minecraft Diaries, the table conversation always came up. So basically what the table conversation is so Lawrence and Aphmau are joking about how dashing Lawrence looks. They do these jokes, and I think it's quite cute. She like flirts back with him and stuff, but like as a joke, I think it's cute. I think it make you a couple whatever. So the Lawrence table conversation goes. So Lawrence and Aphmau are joking about how dashing Lawrence looks. And she's like, oh, you look so dashing. And he's like, well, I'm already engaged, gonna marry this table, so you're too late. And Aphmau goes, really? I was thinking about marrying you. And he's like, wait, what? Are you like for real? And she's like, well, now I'm in love with this table. And he's like, you took my table away from me? How dare you? And she was like, well, I want to marry that table now. And that's the table conversation. I think it's just so iconic because it's like just one of their cute flirting moments, because they do have those sometimes where they joke about it, and it's just, I don't know, it's a cute, silly conversation. I'm definitely explaining it in a terrible way, because when you hear table conversation, in love with tables, you're like, that sounds weird. Why are you saying it like that? But whatever. I do what I want. But then Lawrence leaves, and he's just like, don't flirt with any more tables, Aphmau. So Aphmau and Dante go to Kawaii-chan's house, and they get Dante's little maid, and Kawaii-chan calls Dante cute. I don't ship Dante and Kawaii-chan at all whatsoever. Nope. Anyway, she goes to visit Lucinda, and Lucinda says there isn't anyone she hasn't been able to fix before, so she's dedicated to being able to fix Alexis with her witchcraft, and that she wants to help as many people as possible with her witchcraft so that she can break the stereotype that witches are evil. Lucinda, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but when Lord Bert was in his coma, you said that you couldn't help him because you can't deal with dark magics. Alexis was put under a spell by that pendant and turned into a Shadow Knight, which is also dark magic. Plot hole. I'm being a dick, I know. Anyway, so episode 84, Return to Metelli. So Brian grabs Aphmau for an emergency meeting with Cadenza, and Cadenza says that Hayden has been assassinated. He's been assassinated. So Lawrence thinks that has something to do with Caitlin, and then the girls start fighting, aka Garth and Lawrence are arguing, and they are the said girls. Garth says that Aphmau has to go alone with Lawrence since there is a jury of 9 member here. If he leaves and he's a head guard, then the jury of 9 member can take over the village. So Aphmau and Lawrence go head to Metelli with Cadenza. And there is now a new path to Metelli. There's a path that they can take by land, because typically the way they make it to Metelli is like through the ocean, but they can't go that way because then Caitlin will see that they leave, and they don't want her to know that Aphmau has left, so they take that way. Ulrich leads them to Kenmure. If you remember, the guy that was running against Hayden. Kenmure is temporarily in charge because Hayden's dead. Kenmure immediately hits on Cadenza. Like, time and place. And you did it on my birthday. If you get that quote, you're iconic. He says that Hayden became the Lord while she was gone, and he says that Cadenza can become Lord if she chooses and has the week to make the decision. So again, it's like, what is this Lord system? Because if you just pass it down to your child, that's just a monarchy. Am I wrong? Am I incorrect? Probably, I don't know. So they only have one clue to the crime scene, and they actually find a feather. So they're accusing the chicken shaman, they're accusing Castor of murdering Hayden. Lawrence says that he is going to lead the investigation, and that he's going to interview Castor tomorrow. Then Kenmure calls her beautiful again, like time and place. And you did it at my birthday dinner. Like, why are you hitting? I'm sorry, if my father died and I am just learning that I have a week to learn if I have to take over as the lord of a village and my father died, I don't want some creepazoid, Kenmure, hitting on me while we're in the middle of this conversation. Like, if I was like, hello, you look so beautiful. Anyways, your father's dead, and you have a week to decide if you want to pick up his leadership role. Anyways, you look so gorgeous. Have a nice day. Like, so unbelievably inappropriate. I'm sorry. I love giving people random compliments, but you have to know the time or place. If someone's sad, give them a compliment. I don't think you should give someone a compliment while you're discussing their father's death. I guess hot take, maybe. Anyways, episode 85, The Shaman of Chickens. So it's another murder mystery episode with Castor the Chicken Shaman. Iconic. So they first go talk to the head guard of Metelli, and that's Gale. Gale is the new head guard of Metelli because Ulrich, he didn't become the head guard, apparently. I guess he decided to do retirement, but also he's not retired. Oh, Dante, no. Stay. So we meet Gale, and Gale's the head guard, but if you remember, Glinda, she used to be Hayden's guard, but she retired, if you remember, from being a guard because she didn't want to sign the new oath or whatever. So he explains that him and Hayden were asleep, and then he heard a scream, ran over, and then by the time he got there, Hayden was dead and that the window was open. Lawrence starts to freak out. He's arguing with Gale, saying like, you're a crap guard, screw you. If I was here, I could have protected Hayden. And he's like, well, you weren't here, so you weren't here. So anyways, so Lawrence says, okay, me and Aphmau are actually going to investigate this now and talk to the shaman. And then Gale says, if you help Castor escape, then all of Phoenix Drop will be an accessory to murder. Not just Aphmau, not just all of Phoenix Drop. He's trying to arrest all of them. Aphmau decides to tell Castor that someone has gone missing. Castor immediately assumes it's Cadenza because if you remember the last time we heard about Cadenza, she ran away from him. Dr. Bees probably took Cadenza if she's missing. His best friend, Castor says for the past few days he has been trying to build his population back, because they all died in the Nether, but apparently it's hard because his lucky bandana has gone missing. You see, he has this bandana. It's gone missing. His lucky bandana. It has gone missing. So that's something we need to keep in mind. He then tells Aphmau that she needs to build him more houses for his people, and then him and Lawrence can talk. And Aphmau's like, and Lawrence is like, just do it. I need to talk to Castor. So Aphmau then builds houses, and Castor freaks out and calls her house a prison. And then he tries to build a house, and then he builds it with TNT for some reason. Then Aphmau just gets flint and steel and explodes it. He then yells at his people because they're not invincible to TNT like he is. But then 2 of them do survive, and he's like, all right, you're back in my good graces then. I forgive you, my children. But then he just tells Aphmau to continue building houses while he goes and drinks with Lawrence. Aphmau decides that she's just going to take a nappies and that she's not going to build houses because she was like, he's just going to ruin it again. And so she takes a little nap at the river. Lawrence comes out, wakes her up, and says that Castor couldn't have done it because he's been working on an enchantment potion, and that type of potion takes like a lot of focus and a lot of energy, so he wouldn't like have time to do it, even though has been working on that. I don't know if he already finished the potion, but he's like literally has time because he's drinking and talking with Lawrence, so I don't know. But they decide to camp outside his house because they believe that the person who framed Castor might come and try and like frame him even more. Episode 86, Cadenza's Power. So Ulrich shows up at the Chicken Shaman house and arrests him for the murder of Hayden and kidnapping of Cadenza, because now Cadenza is missing. They found his bandana at the crime scene of, I think, about where Cadenza was kidnapped. And so then he says, I knew I shouldn't have taken it off on my annual chicken shower bath. So Lawrence says that they were there the entire night, so he couldn't have kidnapped Cadenza. But then Ulrich's like, I don't care. So then they split up and follow the river, and Aphmau finds his little shower bath set up. And then she finds a piece of his bandana in a dark oak wood trees. She then waters in the forest and finds a very obvious lever. And she goes into the cave and she finds Shadow Knight set up to sacrifice Cadenza to open another portal. And guess who it is? It's Glinda. Glinda's the Shadow Knight. So I guess it makes sense that she said she didn't want to kill herself if she became a Shadow Knight. Aphmau then kills her, and it turns out Hayden is alive! And that's why I didn't mark out his face, because Hayden's actually alive, so... And I didn't have a second printout of Hayden, so I wasn't... Oh, wouldn't that have been funny if I marked him out and then just pulled out another one? Oh, that would have been so silly. Dang it. Anyways. So then we learned that Cadenza actually has a very strong magic, and that would have been the perfect link to the portal, and Glinda used the murder of Cadenza's father to lure her back into town. What I don't understand is, so the reason that Glinda died is because she hadn't killed a lord yet, and the last lord she worked under was Hayden. So she kidnapped Hayden and didn't kill him. And it's like, dude, if you're gonna kidnap him, kill him and get your immortality. I'm not pro-killing. I'm just saying that that's what should have happened. Like, she wouldn't have died. She definitely could have gone to the Nether if she had killed Hayden and gained her immortality. And then, but that would make too much sense now, would it? So Aphmau then gets Hayden, saves Hayden, and Hayden's like, yeah, I'll join your alliance. So Aphmau has literally saved every lord a part of her alliance now. Like, she saved Bert and Luke, and now she has saved Hayden. Episode 86, The Smile of Alexis. So she runs into Emmeline, who's in Metelli, and then she goes onto like a tangent about Lady Irene. And the thing about Emmeline is, for like 20 episodes she's actually been Metelli, but I didn't mention it because it's just not important to the plot. She's just there because she's doing studies. Castor and Ulrich get in a fight, and Ulrich's like, I will give you all of this beer if you forgive us. And then Castor's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll take the beer. But then he walks away and just doesn't take it with him at all. So he's like, okay, I guess I'll drop it off at his house. Anyways, so Lawrence and Aphmau walk back to Phoenix Drop, and then Lawrence stops and then has like another one of his iconic Lawrence serious conversations, and he confesses his love to Aphmau again for the billionth time. Yeah, so then Aphmau like rejects him for the millionth time, but the reason he's saying this is because like seeing Glinda as a Shadow Knight, reminded him that he is a Shadow Knight, and that he just wants to thank Aphmau for being like the light in his darkness, And that he says, like, no matter what happens, no matter, like, who she's seeing, he's like, I just need you in my life because of you saved me from the darkness. And I'm like, if someone said that to me, I would immediately fall in love with them. I'm sorry. If someone said, you are the light of my life, and I just want you to be there, even if you find someone else, I just always want you to be there because you saved me in my darkest moments, I'd be like, I mean, of course you shouldn't glorify people. You shouldn't put anyone on a pedestal. But I'm sorry, if someone said that to me, I'd be like, oh my God, I want to marry you on the spot right now. Anyways, so then they go home. And so Lucinda has actually finished her potion. And after 34 episodes, it's been 34 episodes, Alexis is finally awake. And then Molly then thanks Irene. She's like, thank Irene. She brought my daughter back. And it's like, no. Lucinda did. Anyways, episode 88, The Tossed Cats. So the crazy cat lady's back in town because she figured out that Logan is a werewolf and she's just throwing cats everywhere because she's so angry. So Garth is like, hey, Aphmau, one of us need to go talk to crazy cat lady and one of us need to collect the cats. Aphmau's like, I'm collecting cats. I choose cats. So then she starts walking around looking for cats and she runs into Lawrence, and Lawrence is actually wearing his helmet because he's like kind of ashamed about the conversation they had yesterday. So he is sad boy of the day. Apparently Caitlin hasn't been seen for the past few days, so people are getting really suspicious about that. And then we learn that Logan and Donna have actually officially adopted Yip. Yay! So Brendan, Dale, and Brian begin to build like a huge wall around the village since there are all these talks of war happening. And then Aphmau goes in the woods because there's a lost merchant. So I didn't mention this, but one of the tasks she had to do today was a merchant was getting lost in the woods. So she went into the woods to go find him. But then in the woods, we get this suspicious cutscene of Dante. And he's suspiciously holding and talking into a communication stone. So Aphmau leads the merchant back to the new gates, and Nicole runs up to her and tells Aphmau that Dante has been acting really weird and strange, and he's been going to like places of solitude and having conversations with himself. So like, you know, that cutscene of him talking into a communication stone is like pretty suspicious. But also the thing about Dante is he doesn't really have any friends. He likes to keep to himself, which it's like iconic king pop off me too. I'm just kidding. I don't keep to myself, but I have a hard time making friends. Roasted. Anyways, episode 89, The Baby from the Pendant. So there's a knock on Aphmau's door in the middle of the night, and Garth tells Aphmau that there was a bright light coming from Kiki's house, and she's in pain and the pendant is breaking. So her baby's born and she names her Leona, which I don't have the baby up here because like the baby isn't really like relevant for the rest of the season like at all. So I was like, I'm not even gonna try. There is another knock on her door when she goes back, and it's Lady Caitlin, who hasn't been seen for days. And Caitlin asks about the remains of the pendant because she's like, she knows where that light is from. She knows it's from like the pendant. And I forgot to mention this, but this pendant, it's like an ancient pendant that like all women wolf tribes would use to make babies. So babies would be born. But then that doesn't make sense because the pendant needs male blood in it as well. So, plot hole, I guess. Anyway, she asks if she can see it, but of course Aphmau says no. And she says to be careful with who you trust it with because if that pendant gets in the wrong hands, something bad will happen. Okay, suspicious. Thanks. Aphmau goes in to check on Kiki, and all of the women in the town are there, and all the kids are there looking at the baby, and of course there's going to be another baby shower. We love our baby showers. So Dante is now like holding the pendant that held Leona in it, and so Aphmau introduces Dante and Zoe, and they're in Zoe's room, and then the pendant that Leona was in merges with the necklace that Alexis was cursed with, and it forms this new fused pendant thingy. Episode 90, Mask in the Trees. So Garth, Dante, Lawrence, Dale, Lucinda, Kawaii-chan, Logan, and Zoe all come together to talk about this pendant. So basically the entire town. And Zoe explains about what had happened like last episode about the pendant merging, and everyone is extremely concerned about this, mainly because it's the necklace that Alexis got cursed with has merged with this other thing. So they're like, is this gonna curse more people? Apparently none of the magic users could sense it. Like, it was on none of their radars, because the thing about magic users is they can typically sense like other magics nearby. It's kind of like how other shadow knights can sense other shadow knights, so other magic users can, detect other magic users, but none of them detected this. So they were like, this is really weird dark magic. Logan brings the traveling merchant. His name's Oliver. He brings the traveling merchant in because, like, Logan's there because he's a merchant, so he's been all around the world, and he knows Oliver, so he's like, maybe Oliver knows something. So they bring Oliver in, and Oliver says that the town nearby, there had 2 thieves, and they came across 2 pendants, and then they became cursed. One of them turned into stone slowly, and the other one would turn into a pig anytime he ate. So the more food he ate, he then turned more and more into a pig. Oh my god. I'd rather turn to stone. After the transformation was complete, the pendants merged together. And then the lord of that village was like, okay, what the hell? So they put it in a vault, but then the vault got broken into and the pendant was stolen and it's gone. So then and then they're like, that's useless. Blech. And then Oliver's like, okay, well, you asked for my help. So then he leaves. Lucinda says that the pendants are meant to give some sort of power, because she was like, okay, that information actually was useful, because she's like, these pendants are probably given some sort of power. And then once the power has run out, they will collide together, hence Leona being born, and then the pendant merging with Alexis's necklace, because both of them are done, because Lucinda also fixed Alexis. So when they came together, they formed this new amulet. Garth says that him and Dante, Lawrence, and Brian will discuss this, like, alone and together. And then Zoe takes an immediate left turn and talks about the baby shower. She's like, I know, that strange pendant. Oh, yeah, this is really bad. Anyways, let's talk about the baby shower, guys. So Zoe's like, okay, we'll have a baby shower at Kiki's house. And then that Dale and Logan don't want to go. Dante's like, oh, that'll be fun. And then Lawrence just goes, I just want to say to all of the beautiful women in the room that I would make the cutest babies. Anyways, there's a knock, and the Aphmau goes back home, and then there's another knock on her door, which I guess is just like how people are introduced now. And then Garth says that he will escort her to the baby shower, not because he's into her, but because he's escorting everyone to the baby shower, which is true. He did escort everyone to the baby shower, but it was like he made it very clear, it's not because I like you, I'm escorting everybody. And she's like, okay. And then, so they get there, and then Lawrence and Aphmau have one of their, like, cute little joke things, iconic. And then Nicole is pro Larmau. She's just like, he keeps hitting on you. Why don't you just give him a chance? And then Aphmau's like, I just don't have time to think about that kind of stuff. And then they walk into the baby shower, and then Garth's, like, looking lovingly at Aphmau in the distance and kind of, like, heard them flirting a bit. And then while he's standing outside the barn, because he's like, I'll keep a lookout since, there's like so many people just after them at this point, he'll take a look out, and then he spots a mysterious person wearing this mask. And then we actually get this like strange first perspective like cut scene. So it cuts to Garth, and then we're like in a first person perspective player mode of him chasing this person through the woods, and then he goes into the woods. And so I didn't actually mention this in one of the episodes, but in one of the episodes, the one where Sasha is talking to Lawrence, like in the nether, like so long ago. That's the only other time I've seen like a first person interaction, and also when Sasha and Jean are talking about Lawrence breaking out of the nether. So there's only been 2 other circumstances of this, and that's just kind of like before there was like voice acting in the series. So I don't know, I just thought it was interesting that it was a first person perspective. But then when he gets in the woods, he loses the mask figure, and then he stumbles upon Aphmau and Lawrence macking in the woods. But it's not actually them, because they're in the freaking barn. And he's now sad boy of the day, but like it wasn't them, it was just like an illusion. And I think he's so stupid to like think it wasn't, because it's like you could have easily like just gone up to them and be like in the barn, like he didn't see either of them leave. Lawrence and Aphmau are still both in the barn. And if he was at patrol, he would have seen them leave at some point, and he didn't. He's just stupid. Episode 91, Respect for Irene. This is when, like, the true high-quality cutscenes are really good. Like, when we were in Picaro Village, there was, like, the cutscene of, like, Garth protecting Aphmau, and then Lawrence throwing eggs at guards. Those are good, but this is, like, when the true good quality cutscenes happen, and then this is also when, like, voice actors. So we get our first voice actor. Well, I mean, like, Lord Burt, kind of, and Dr. Doctor, kind of, but, like, true paid voice actor we get, and it's for Zane. And Jeffrey, and so Zane is talking to Jeffrey, and then they're in Ocastus, and he's, like, talking about how Jeffrey let the Lord of Brightport and Picaro Village out, and then Jeffrey just, that's not Jeffrey, and then Jeffrey is just like, it was a lapse in judgment, like, I'm so sorry, and then Zane's like, it's okay, gets up and stabs him. Jeffrey is dead. Goodbye, Jeffrey. You will be missed. Died. Dead. Zane gets a call from someone on the communication stone, and we just hear whispers, so we don't know who's on the other end, but it's, like, definitely the mask figure. But I think we're led to believe that since Dante's been talking on a communication stone, that it's actually Dante, but if you, like, pay attention, it doesn't really make any sense. Zane alludes to Garth being the perfect fit to fill the role since he's the new sad boy, meaning, like, since Jeffrey's dead, there's a new opening on the Jury of Nine, and he's, like, alluding that Garth would be the perfect replacement for Jeffrey. So now Cadenza and Emmeline are back in town. Emmeline has been gone for, like, 30 episodes, and then Aphmau changes into some new clothes because Cadenza made her some new clothes. New fit. This is the last fit change of the season. She goes downstairs and gets jump scared by Dante. Apparently Garth did not show up to the guard tower. And he actually hasn't been seen since yesterday because he is sad boy he's just sad for the rest of the series. He's sad boy of each episode from now on, essentially, okay? So Dante says that she needs to go to the plaza because Corey wants to move the Lady Irene statue, but then Molly's, like, flipping her lid. So she goes to the plaza, and Corey, he doesn't want to move it to be an ass. He's just like, we are building and upgrading this village, and we want to build more in the plaza, and we're worried that if the Lady Irene statue and fountain's here, that we're going to accidentally ruin it. So then Molly's, like, losing her mind. She's like, no, blasphemy. It's like, Molly, freaking chill out. The wall is finally done, though. So the wall around the village is done. And then now that Emmeline's back, she can actually come into use for once because the blob thing, she was wrong about the blob thing. This is the one time Emmeline's coming in use. And Aphmau goes to her and is like, hey, is there a way we can move the Lady Irene statue without, like, disrespecting it? And Emmeline's like, oh, yeah, of course we can. Emmeline kind of tells her how to do it, and then they're gonna, like, do it a little later. Aphmau goes in to check on Garth, but he won't answer the door because everybody thinks he's sick. He's heartbroken. Aphmau kind of, like, wanders around her house, and then she sees, like, this boat, and she goes towards a boat because she's, like, a little confused. And then we see the stranger from what episode? 66 and 67, and he's there, and he threatens to kill her because he also thinks that all lords are puppets. He doesn't think that all lords don't do anything. He thinks that they're all puppets. So he is not a Shadow Knight. He is he's against Zane. He's against Shadow Knights. He is his own entity, basically, and he is against lords. Aphmau tells him about her hatred for Zane because he's like, all lords are under Zane's control or whatever. And then she's like, well, I hate Zane. And then he, like, lets her go because he's like, oh, okay, you could be of use to me, I guess. And then he tells her how powerful the amulet they have is, the one that was merged with Alexis and Kiki's, because he knows about the amulet and that she should not trust anybody with it. And then dramatic music starts playing, and then it cuts to everyone in the village being suspicious. It cuts to Garth, it cuts to Nicole and Kiki and Brendan and Logan and Donna and Cadenza and Lawrence and Dante. It cuts to everybody. Episode 92, the Gate of Phoenix Drop. So we get a cutscene, and Zane is standing outside the gates of Scaleswind, And he says that he knows where the Lord of Scaleswind's daughter is, and that he's willing to surrender himself to the Lord of Scaleswind just to show that he means no harm. And then the Lord of Scaleswind is just like, my daughter got murdered by one of your guards, and that's why Zane actually had to leave Phoenix Drop, is because at that point his daughter had been murdered. But he's like, I will surrender myself to you because I know where she is. So then we cut back to Mysterious Man, and he says not to tell anyone he was there, and then he runs off. Lawrence appears and asks what's going on, and because it looks like she's been crying, and then she's just like, no, nothing's wrong. And then he offers to carry her home because she's so eepy-seepy. I don't know. Her house, one, is right there. Like, this happened outside of the treehouse. Two, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of when people in role plays or in general are like, let me carry you home. So Levin's got some new drip. I didn't print it out. That was fully on me. That wasn't a me losing it. That was I just didn't do it because I didn't feel like it. There is a huge bam in Aphmau's basement. And she goes down there, and it is in Zoe's room, and Malachi is laying on the floor, passed out. Apparently, he was mixing potions and then accidentally used a Yggdrasil sapling, like the sapling that they used to make the giant tree. He accidentally put that in the potion, and that you should never do that because it's super unstable. So now, Zoe is the sad boy of the episode. Cinda comes over and says that it is crazy that Malachi could even get hurt, because he's a spirit. Because if you think about it, it's like, where is he? Malachi's a ghost. He's a spirit. How is he able to get hurt? Why is he passed out? And then Aphmau goes to check in on Brian, and Brian says that he was promoted to do gate patrol. There is a new woman that came into the village, and she's like recognized as like a prophet. She's a fortune teller, but she's like, I'm actually a prophet, and her name's Lillian. Which I didn't put her on the board, but I have her. Give me Lillian. And then Cadenza told Lillian about Garth, about how Garth's like sad. I don't know how the heck that came up in conversation, but then she offers to help Garth, because she's also an herb specialist. Episode 93. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. There's a cutscene of Garth stepping out of his room to get food that Cadenza has left out there for him. And Lillian approaches him and tells him that she can make him a potion, and she's an herb specialist, and she was sent there to make him feel better. Garth says he's not actually sick. He confesses that he just has a broken heart. Now that's the end of that cutscene. Aphmau and Lucinda are now in Malachi's room, and they're trying to figure out how to like wake him up. Lucinda says that she was hoping he was faking it because she's seen him like fake things before, like pretending to eat things, pretending to get hurt, pretending to like sleep, just like pretending to do things. And Lucinda says that she has this thing. It's called like an ice pick. It's used to touch like spirits, and then like, but she touched him with it, and like the pick didn't even acknowledge that he was there. So yeah, Brian fetches Aphmau because Soan is at the gate demanding for the Lord, and guess who it is? It's the chicken shaman. So Castor claims that the gates were built on sacred lands where him and his people have their annual chicken pooping ceremony. Aphmau is just like, well, we were informed this was sacred lands. You never told us. And he's like, well, this is where I have it every year. And she's like, okay. And then he's like, I'll be back next year, and I will complain for 5 minutes next time. And then he leaves. I love the chicken shaman. He's like the best comic relief character ever. So Corey shows Aphmau the new location for the Irene statue, and Emmeline says that she will move the statue using a spell because now she's a witch. And this leads back to me saying, like, back when we were talking about Picaro Village, and when Lord Luke kicked out Lucinda and her mom because they were witches. Emmeline has never ever brought up, she says she's practicing witchcraft. So in my mind, like, witchcraft is something that like either Lucinda has some sort of magics and that manifests in witchcraft, or you can be a human and do witchcraft, which is just in like spells and stuff. But then also like what Kawaii Chan said, that everyone has some sort of magic, And it's confusing. I don't know. Like, when I learned that, I was, like, just thoroughly confused because it's, like, so if Emmeline went to Picaro Village, would they have kicked her out because does she have some heritage of being a witch, or did she just decide to, I don't know. That's my little tangent about that. I could keep going, but it's just going to be more and more of the same nonsense. So there's a cutscene, and Brian grabs Aphmau immediately because the Lord of Scaleswind has appeared at the gate with Zane. Lord of Scaleswind and Zane have appeared at the gate, and the Lord of Scaleswind is demanding his daughter. Guess whose daughter is? Nicole. Doesn't that make sense? Why she was scared when they were in Brightport that the Ocassus guards were there for her, and why she was hiding, and why she had a disguise. It's Nicole. That's Nicole. Nicole is the daughter of Scaleswind, meaning that Nicole was actually engaged to Gareth. Crazy, I know. So Aphmau goes to Nicole's house, and no one can find her anywhere. And the Lord of Scaleswind says they have 5 days to bring her, or else they will turn and burn down the gates. Zane says that he could talk to the Lord of Scaleswind about, not burning down their gate if she gave him the amulet that was created from Kiki and Alexis's pendants. And I was like, fuck no, I'm not giving you that. He leaves, and then Oliver is standing at the gates. This guy, he led Lord of Scaleswind and Zane to the gates, but then they do like nothing about it. So now all of the guards are going around looking for Nicole, and just no one can find her. And then Lillian is also mask guy. Bam, bam, bam. I'll just put them I'll put it like that, I think. Anyways, Lillian is Mask Guy, episode 94, The Stranger. So Oliver talks to Aphmau and says that he didn't mean for any of this to happen. He didn't know who they were. They just approached him and said, we will kill you if you don't tell us where Phoenix Drop is. Please don't kill me. And she's like, I'm not gonna kill you. And she's like, you know what, you can stay because I know you didn't do it on purpose and you had no malice in your heart. So Aphmau goes to talk to Lawrence, and Aphmau's kind of talking smack about Zane. Is Zane took Nicole, Zane has her locked somewhere, and Lawrence is you need to be careful with what you say because we can't accuse Zane without proving it, because if they do and people find out, that will make it worse, and that's just what Zane wants. Aphmau says, what if Lady Caitlin had taken Nicole, but it couldn't be Lady Caitlin because she was been locked on her boat and no one has seen any activity from her boat in days. Aphmau tells Lawrence about the mysterious man because they're talking about who could have taken Nicole. Lawrence is and then he says, oh, I hate this quote. I don't like when other men put their hands on you. Girl, I do love Lawrence. Ick. I get the ick. I got an actual visceral reaction when I heard him say that. You don't own anybody, okay? You don't own, first of all, you're not dating, so you're not even dating, 1. 2, you don't own people even if you are dating them, okay? Let's make that clear. No one owns you. You are your own person. Girl boss. Anyways, she takes Lawrence to where she saw the man, and Lawrence attacks him, but he is quicker and holds a sword to Lawrence's throat. So the stranger is actually more powerful than Lawrence. The mysterious man brings out a communication stone, and that he reveals that he actually has been listening to anything that Zane and his people have been saying, because he acquired a communication stone connected to the signal, and that he knows exactly what's been happening with the Jury of 9, and he knows a lot about what's been happening in the village. He says that they've become a target because Phoenix Drops is becoming one of the most powerful places in the region, specifically because of all of the magic users. Because who do we have? We have Kawaii-chan and Zoe, supposedly Kiki. We have Lucinda, who's a witch. Logan, who's a werewolf. We have Yip. They're acquiring and I guess Emmeline now is a witch, so they're acquiring a lot of powerful people, and that's why a lot of people are viewing them as a threat. Oh, and also they have a Shadow Knight. I forgot about that. They also have a Shadow Knight. So yeah, the stranger is unsure who moved Nicole, but they think it's a person named, was it Velius, who is supposedly the man in the mask. I don't know who Velius is. I don't know if it's code name. Never brought up again. I feel like that's one of the most recent plot holes that have actually made no sense, that was kind of like just dropped. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong and I'm remembering it wrong, but I wrote this while I was watching it and I was very confused when I saw that. I was like, what? That makes no sense. So the stranger reveals that this is not the first amulet that they have. Zane gave an amulet to his son and it proceeded to explode the entire village. But it left him alive. So Zane took the amulet and left, and he says that all of them are in pieces of moonlight, I wrote down ward, but I don't know if that's correct. A moonlight ward, which is a mythical item that can be used by one of the divine warriors that can be used to transverse dimensions. So all of these pendants are actually connected together, and Zane has been giving them to people and then taking them back once the curse is removed, because all of these items are actually cursed. That's why it cursed Alexis. That's why it cursed those two guys in the other village where one turned to stone and one turned into a pig. That's why I don't know how a child is a curse. I mean, it is to some people. Some people it's a blessing, but I just think that's a funny. The pendants are cursed and one of them created a baby. Anyways, so when they come together, it creates this object that can transverse dimensions, aka meaning that they can go into the wyvern dimension, and later we learn there's a Lady Irene dimension, which we'll get into a little later. So it is ripped apart by Enki, and like I said, he put a curse on all of them to make sure that they were not put back together. And now Lawrence and Aphmau go back to her house, and they're kind of like freaking out outside. Garth spots them from the guard tower, and he looks all sad, and he's standing with Lillian. And he's continues to be sad boy. Mom decides to hold a meeting in the plaza, and she finally announces that there is a chance of war and that everyone in the village needs to look for Nicole, because if they do not find Nicole, they are going to go to war. So episode 95, Call to Arms. There's a loud bang in Malachi's room, and he's now human, okay? So Lucinda gets excited because now she thinks that, like, Yggdrasil saplings can revive people, because, you know, he was dead, he was a spirit, but now he's human. Zoe gets really pissed off, and then she's like, I'm gonna have a few words with Lucinda. And then Aphmau and Lawrence decide that he's going to keep the amulet, because the stranger says that Lawrence is the only one that can be trusted, because they just keep, like, on the communication stone, they just keep talking smack about Lawrence on there. So the stranger's like, the only one you can really trust right now is Lawrence. So Lawrence holds a meeting with all of the guards in the town, and they plan on sending out people to inform the members of the Phoenix Alliance to aid in war. And Garth is finally out of his room. And then, who says it? Someone's like, shouldn't Garth be holding this meeting? And then he's like, well, Garth hasn't been involved. And then Garth's like, yeah, Lawrence should be holding this meeting. I've been sick. Cough, cough. Garth is being a butt, and Aphmau says a lot of things that she's been tending to are terrible and that she really needs him. And then he goes, I'm sure not all the things have been terrible, and then walks away. Okay. Lawrence and Aphmau then gossip about Garth and his little prissy attitude. And then, so what's happening is they think that his pride has been hit since when he was sick. All of this stuff has started to happen. So that's a conclusion they come to, because, again, like we talked about back in at Lucinda's house, like a lot of episodes ago, he's a very prideful person, and that is one of his downfalls. And then they throw a little party for Malachi. Everybody heads to bed. Aphmau is woken up, though, because of course the stranger is like shaking her in her bed, like, wake up. And Aphmau's like, what the hell are you doing in my room? He says to look at the window, and there's a cutscene of Lillian running around the village, and then they both go to follow her. She has a meeting on the beach. She goes to the beach and has a meeting with Lady Caitlin, and Lillian actually threatens Lady Caitlin. Because Lillian's like, why didn't you report that Nicole was here? And Caitlin was like, well, I was just doing what I was told. I was told to come here and talk to Aphmau about Jeffrey and try and figure out what happened with Jeffrey. I was never told to go look for Nicole. I never even walked around these parts before. Lillian continues to try and intimidate her, and then Caitlin gets pissed off and, like, grazes her face with her, like, fire fist, because she's referred to as Caitlin the Fire Fist, because, like, she moves so fast that it's, like, said her fists catch on fire. And so she intimidates her with her fire fist and said, leave me alone or next time I won't miss. Iconic Caitlin. iconic girl boss, Caitlin. Anyways, the stranger and Aphmau split up to look for Lillian because Lillian walked away. And then Lillian noticed and she runs away and they can't find her. In the morning, Lawrence is at Aphmau's house and demands that she takes a little nappy because she looks absolutely exhausted. But she doesn't tell Lawrence about the stranger, though. She keeps that little EBB secret. And then there's a cutscene of everyone heading off into the alliances. So Cadenza's heading to Metelli, Logan's heading to the Wolf Tribe, other people are going places. Oh yes, Lucinda goes to Picaro. I forgot who goes to Brightport. Yeah, everyone's heading off to go tell people. Essentially everyone that's in the alliance. Episode 96, The Divine. So Aphmau finally does tell Lawrence about the stranger appearing at her bed, and he freaks out, which rightfully so. Okay, Lawrence, when he said I don't like when people put their hands on you, it's okay, yeah, that's weird, but also rightfully so he freaks out when some stranger they don't even know, they've never seen his face, they don't know his name, shows up at her bedside and breaks into her house. But then she tells him about Lillian. He's I should have been there, I could have helped you guys look for her, and she was it was too quick in the moment, but he's not mad about that, so respect, I guess, for Lawrence. Dante barges in and says that there's specific activities coming from the boat in the docks. It's Castor, and Castor's just on a chicken boat, walking around, and Aphmau's okay, it was Castor. The chicken jamming. Nothing to worry about. So then Caitlin approaches them, and she wants to talk about the war, and they agree, and then Aphmau takes her to her house again, for some reason. Caitlin says that Jeffrey has died. It's official. She heard that Jeffrey was dead, and that she is sick of Zane. She is sick of Zane, and it's all Zane is the one that killed her. And then she begins to cry, and she talks about her hatred for Zane, and that her Jeffrey was her best friend, and now she's I'm sick of working for Zane. I'm sick of doing his bidding. I can't do it anymore. He's an awful human being. So Caitlin's now on a part of the Phoenix Alliance now, essentially, and she decided that she stayed in Phoenix Drop because she didn't learn any information from Aphmau or for anyone about Jeffrey, and she knew that if she returned back to Ocassus, that Zane was probably going to get rid of her because she was useless. And she says that she gave the armor to Lawrence, Dante, and Gareth because she actually stole it because they were getting ready to replicate it, and she was she knows how powerful this armor is, so she's they can't replicate this, so she stole it and then gave it to them to try and help beef up their protections. And then Caitlin gives them massive swords, and then these swords were actually handled by the Divine Warriors. It's lore time. The Divine Warriors. So who are the Divine Warriors? They were a group of powerful gods. They were all powerful in their own regards, believed to have existed many, many years ago. Shade the Destroyer, Esmond the Protector, Enki the Keeper, and Irene the Matron. This is just I wrote this verbatim down because I was I don't even know. Are the ones I have known. There are some villages in this region that have been known to have statues of all three. However, Irene was the one who protected many villages here and was the last one to have been seen alive. The weapons have been blessed by very powerful respective priests of each god, except for Shads. Caitlin says that she doesn't know who the spy is because there is a spy in the village, and she doesn't know who it is, and if she did, she would have told them by now. Yeah. Gareth runs dramatically out of the house, and Lawrence chases him and is what the hell is wrong with you? What are you doing? And it is a voice, and then there's a voiceover cutscene, and Lawrence and Garth are fighting. The girls are fighting. Anyways, Aphmau and Lawrence meet up with the stranger again, and then there's a cutscene of Brendan patrolling the walls, and he gets shot. Ending the season the way we started it. Brendan getting shot at the gates. Episode 97. They're coming. So Dante runs to Aphmau and tells them that Brendan has been shot and Ocassus is invading. The invasion isn't full. It's just a few guards going there and kind of hitting people. So it wasn't the full invasion war yet. And so they pull the arrow out of Brendan's arm and they take him to Zoe. But Zoe doesn't know healing magics, okay? She already made that clear when Lawrence was blind, so what's going on there? Anyways, so then Aphmau tells Zoe to take all of the kids out of Phoenix Drop, Malachi overhears this, and he was like, I understand what's happening, and I know I can't stay because I no longer have magics, and he's pretty bummed about it. Then she goes to explain to Levin what happened, but he's like 2, so he's like, okay, see you in a bit. Like, essentially, that's what he says. But so then Lawrence runs to get Aphmau and says that Metelli has been burned to the ground by Ocassis. So Aphmau and Lawrence go to Metelli and they bring everyone back and take them into Kiki's barn. And Kiki has let go of all her animals because she doesn't want them to get caught in a war. But then, like, also all of Metelli is staying in her barn. And then Lawrence says that no one has seen Garth since he confronted him in the last episode, and that he wasn't even there when they were fighting off some of the Ocassis guards. So then we get a cutscene of Zane in Metelli. Episode 98, Being Prepared. If my computer runs out of storage, I think I'm going to lose my shit right now. Knights of the Round Table. Sorry. Monty Python. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. Whatever. Anyways, all of the heads of Metelli and Phoenix Drop are having a meeting except Garth there because he's being a freaking baby. And then they all like gossip about him. And Kenmer's like, I don't mean to be rude, but why is Dante here and Garth is not? And Aphmau's like, he's sick right now, so we're gonna have this meeting without him. And they like talk about him for a bit. And basically what's happening is the plans are being discussed, and the first plan of action is get all of the kids and the people that aren't able to fight somewhere else. Then they talk about how Zane is behind this, and Gail is like, well, that's an accusation and blah blah blah. And it's like, I hate Gail. I hate this guy. I love you, Sean Carter. Hate Gail. I hate Gail with every burning passion in my body. I don't like him. Anyways, Kenmer says that he has a device that can detect signals, and they can use that to find Nicole. For now, the guards are going to mine for supplies. And then Dante, he runs off and starts whispering into his communication stone. So Aphmau is like, okay, this is really weird. So she follows him into the woods, and he strikes her down. And he says that he was startled. Like, for a dog, what, dude? Okay, anyways. She just startled him, and he swears that he isn't working for Ocassis. And Dante reveals that he's actually been trying to reach out to his brother Gene. He's like, I don't like Gene, but me and him used to use this communication tone to talk to each other when he was out on parole. And he's like, I just feel so lonely here. I don't really have a family, and he's the last family I have. He's the only person that remembers who I am. And it was really sad. And then Dante gives the communication stone to Aphmau because he's like, I don't want you not to trust me. So here, you can have it. And then Dante says that he loves her, but not in the way that like Lawrence loves her, in a sisterly way. And that like he's like, you are probably the only person that I would consider family besides Lawrence and Garth, and I'm glad like I know you. So Aphmau finds Garth, and he's being like a baby. Garth pisses me off. I'm gonna say it. Garth pisses me off. In these later episodes, he really just gets under my skin, and I'm sure everyone else can agree with that. He asks about the amulet, and where like Aphmau has it, and she doesn't tell him, and he talks all serious and is like blah 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 blah, because he's like, oh, I get it, you can't trust anybody with it. Like, this attitude right here is why I was never a Garmau stan, and why I will never support Garmau. If you support Garmau after this, girl, okay. Like, he's being a baby because he saw Lawrence and Aphmau kiss, which wasn't even real. And it's like, dude, sorry you didn't get your girl. You're literally being such a big baby. There's a freaking war about to happen, and you're over here crying about a girl because your heart's broken. Kenmer and Element talk about his like device, and Emily's like, tell me more about this science, because science apparently like isn't a thing there. And then they also talk about Irene and her realm. Caitlin enters the barn, and then Gale says the most sexist thing I've ever heard, and he says, you have a lot of courage for a woman. I hate that guy. I can't stand him. And then Lady Caitlin and Aphmau go to talk in private, and she renounces her position in the Jury of Nine, and she is a soldier to Aphmau and her alliance and her people. Caitlin says that she made everybody on her boat walk the plank, so Aphmau has her giant boat to herself, and then she's like, this is perfect. We can put all of the kids on there and all the people that can't fight on there, so everything is worked out. Then Dale goes with them because he's like, we can't send all of these helpless children and people alone. So Dale's like, I'll go with them to make sure everyone's protected. Yeah, so everyone from the Alliance has finally arrived, though. Iconic moment. Episode 99, Attack on Phoenix Drop. So now we're back at the Knights of the Round Table, of course. All of the lords meet and pledge their allegiance to Phoenix Drop. And, well, you know, except for Lord Burt, because this man is still cursed. Asher is there in his replacement. This man is still fucking cursed. I'm not even... Oh my god. So all the lords address their people and they prepare for battle. So Lawrence and Aphmau chit chat, and this is one of their, like, I think cutest interactions. So he starts off with, like, being like, can I carry you home? And Aphmau's just, like, so stressed she doesn't even reject him. She just is like, I don't know what to do. And then Lawrence is like, he frowns and he's just like, okay, we need to get you back to your Lawrence rejecting self. And she's just like, she just continues to talk about how she's so stressed. And then he decides to cheer her up and then says, ahem, so is it me, or is that new outfit make you look hot? Date me. And then Aphmau just, like, responds with a silly little joke, and it's just really cute. But it's not as iconic as, like, of course, the table conversation, but, you know, it's still one of their cute conversations. Aphmau finds Emmeline, and she says to that she's staying to help Kenmer find Nicole with his heat-detecting goggles, and then her and Kenmer go and head out to find Nicole. The next morning, Scaleswind is at the gates bright and early, and they have hundreds of troops, and Aphmau tries to reason with them, but it's no use. And Aphmau even says she would marry Zane, and he says, if you come out of this alive, I'll consider it. And then one of the biggest betrayals of the century, Brian opens the gates and lets all of them in. Do you remember back a very long time ago when I said that Gareth was really scared of Brian coming home because the last guard he trained turned out to be an absolute psychopath? Anyways, okay, so I'm gonna describe the fight to you now, which is gonna be like the most entertaining thing ever. So Dante quickly closes the door. Mages start shooting at the wall and then they break through it. Dante, Lawrence, and a few others in the village are on the defense, keeping them, trying to keep them from going over the wall. We get a cutscene of Kenmer and Emmeline looking around for Nicole, and they finally find her, and guess what? The old Lord's cellar! Nothing good happens at that goddamn house. They need to break it down. They need to get rid of it. It needs to get out of here. Nothing good happens there. Aphmau finally sees Garth, and he covers her back while they're fighting, and they make their way to the plaza. It's on fire, and it's taken over by so many guards. The Lord of Scaleswind is standing in the plaza, and Nicole, they finally find Nicole, and we get a first-person perspective of Nicole. She runs up to him and punches him in the face. That's this image. He has a black eye after she punched him in the face. And he says, oopsies. Then he's like, oopsies, I guess you found my daughter and you weren't holding her hostage. Hee hee. Sorry. And then I was like, okay, I accept your apology. Okay. I mean, yeah, bring peace and stuff, but it's just like, he just invaded your village. He helped burn down the village of Metelli. Whatever. And then he says he will join her alliance. Not even a minute after the war has just ended. Wild. And she says yes. And I mean, like, they do have, like, the largest military besides Ocassus, so it is, like, a huge plus to the alliance, but still, I think it's just really funny. So Lawrence comes over and asks, not Lawrence, Garth comes over and then asks about the amulet again, and then Aphmau's, like, really happy, and she's like, oh, Lawrence has had it this entire time. So then we get a cutscene, voiceover cutscene, and Lawrence is standing at Ungurth's grave. Garth comes over, and he lies, saying that Aphmau told him to get the amulet from Lawrence, and then Lawrence is like, I don't know, I'll have to hear this from Aphmau, and then he knocks him out and takes the amulet and runs away. Now that is one of the top 10 betrayals of all time, okay? That is number 1. Brian's like number 6, I don't know, but you guys aren't gonna guess what happened. I was recording episode 100. I ran out of storage, and then I started talking really fast, and I was like, alright, I guess I'll delete some stuff off of my computer. So here we are, an hour later, finishing this up. Iconic. Such an iconic moment. Oh my god. Okay. Episode 100. Before we start this episode, I just want to say, I remember when this episode came out. I remember the day so vividly. I remember there was a video that came out before, and it was a huge apology video because Afmao came out with the video two days later? 1 to 2 days after it was supposed to come out, and everyone was really bummed, but we were all like, girl, it's okay. Like, oh my god, I don't know who out here has made a role play, but a role play to the degree that Afmao was making at this time was insane. Anyways, so let's start off episode 100, the amulet's secret. So Afmao says that she will provide aid to the guards, and the Lord of Scaleswind said his troops are rebuilding and catching the remaining Akassis guards. Apparently, Zane... I almost forgot my one. Apparently, Zane has run away, and no one has seen him since the beginning of the battle. The Lord says that he was convinced that Nicole was dead. Like I said earlier, she was stabbed by an Okassis guard and pushed into a river, but it was just a potion she used to fake her own death. Girl, you accidentally started a whole world war. I love Nicole, but girl accidentally started an entire war that killed probably a decent amount of people. But he didn't know that she had faked her death. Zane came and was like, someone actually killed your daughter, and Lord Afmao of Phoenix Drop actually wants us to go to war, so she has your daughter. And that's basically how Zane convinced him to go to war with Phoenix Drop. And so we learned that Brian was actually the one that stole Nicole and kept her in the Lord's basement, in the Lord's cellar, because as we know, Brian does know what that place is, and that's just wild to me. I feel so bad for Molly and Dale. Brian. Donna apparently was there like the entire time, and Afma was like, Donna, what the hell are you doing here? And Donna was like, well, I was here because I was gonna set up a medic station, but then she heard the rumor because it got around that Brian was the one that opened the gates so that all of Okassis and Scaleswind could come in, and Donna starts flipping her lid, and I mean, like, rightfully so. You see this kid grow up, and he actually turns out to be the reason that a bunch of people die in a war. Like, absolutely insane. She's like, how are we going to tell Dale? How are we going to tell Molly? And she thinks it might have something to do with, like, the Guard Academy. Like, the Guard Academy, like, corrupted him or something. Which I guess could be true, but if we remember, Dante also just got out of the Guard Academy, and he isn't an asshole. Yip is also there for some reason. Logan stayed because, you know, werewolf, he was going to stay. And apparently Logan told Yip, if Donna's going to stay, you're going to stay to protect Donna. But then, like, Donna was mad that Yip stayed. It was, like, a whole thing. Afma was surprised to see Lucinda. Why are you surprised to see Lucinda? She's hot, sexy, and powerful, okay? She was on the second line of defense, but everyone's like dissing Azura, because Azura was the one that came up with the plan, and Lucinda's just like, I should have been on the front lines, but Azura wouldn't let me because I refused to put armor on these sexy curves. And I'm like, I love you, Lucinda. I love Lucinda with all of my heart. She's literally so iconic, and everyone's literally shitting on Azura because everyone's like, the magic users should have been at the front because they could have stopped the mages from breaking down the wall. Afma tries to talk to the guards that were left behind when Zayden left, and everyone's like, we're not telling you. It's like, girl, he abandoned you here. He abandoned you. Why are you still loyal to him? I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand. Maybe I just don't understand that type of loyalty or whatever. I don't know. So it's just like, I don't know. I don't know why Afma's so surprised that all of the magic users are behind, because Kawaii-chan is also here. And she's like, Kawaii-chan, what are you doing here? And it's like, the reason people were afraid of Phoenix Drop is because of the amount of magic users that are in this village. So of course they're gonna stay behind and help fight the war. After Afma kind of checks up on everyone, she's like, where's Lawrence? And she finds him in the woods where Garth had knocked him out at Unger's grave. What's funny is, like, there are so many guards, like, walking around, roaming around, like, looking for Okassis guards, like, so many Scaleswind guards, Metelli guards, like, everyone is going around looking for any Okassis guards left behind. No one found Lawrence. Afma's the one that found Lawrence. They're doing a terrible job. They're doing awful job on everyone. So they take Lawrence to his room, and And then he tells Aphmau that Garth is the one that hit him on the head and that he took the amulet. So a search party begins and they all start looking for him. Aphmau tells Dante to wait behind and protect the village while her and other people go to try and find Garth. And then she runs into the stranger, and then the stranger says that he is taking the amulet to Zane so Zane can get into another dimension. And it's like, Garth, what? Okay. So then there is a cutscene voiceover, and everyone's in the woods, and they finally find Zane and Garth. He gave Zane the amulet. Because he's freaking sad. But also, like, in there, Dante is there. Like, if you look at the group of people that are there, Dante is there. But he's supposedly stayed behind. I don't know if that was, like, a mistake by accident. But it doesn't make sense because Dante isn't a part of the storyline that continues on. But Lawrence charges at Zane, but Garth blocks him and says that he pledged his allegiance to Zane and is choosing to do it out of his free will. Garth makes me so angry. Zane says the one thing he loved was taken away from him, which was Aphmau, by his best friend, who is Lawrence. So all of this is happening because Garth is in love with Aphmau and can't handle the fact that he thinks Lawrence and Aphmau are dating. And instead of, talking his feelings out, he does the man move and pens it all inside and decides to take it out another. That's a joke. Not all men do that. I just think iconic man move right there. Don't talk about your feelings. Just destroy villages and people. Iconic. So we learn that Zane actually sent Lillian there because, he was the one that had set up Garth discovering Aphmau and Lawrence together. And he actually sent Lillian there to try and corrupt Garth into becoming a jury of 9 member and set him to show the truth. So then Garth turns into a giant knight. I have a photo of this. He turns into this giant form because apparently when the jury, that's a part of being on the jury of 9, when you get initiated in, you gain some sort of magic and you can become really big and powerful. And so he knocks Lawrence to the ground, and then Caitlin, she still has her jury of 9 membership because she never got it revoked, and so she tries to fight Garth, but then Zane takes her power away. Zane puts together the 2 amulets and transports everyone there into Lady Irene's dimension. So now you see why I find it, I think it was a mistake that Dante was there, because Dante does not get transported there. He's supposed to stay back at the village, which he does. So everyone is transported to Irene's dimension, and Emmeline starts flipping her lid and losing her mind because 1 minute there is 1 year in their world. So, but everyone decides they want to stay and stop Zane. Emmeline starts freaking out and runs away. Kenmure runs after her, and it's like, girl, calm down. Running away is not going to get you anywhere. Anyways, so then there's a cutscene voiceover, which it's not really a cutscene. Cutscene voiceover, and Zane is about to grab the Irene relic, but when Aphmau walks into the church, the relic approaches her, and she absorbs it. So then Zane freaks out, and he also turns into a giant magic thing, which I had a photo and I don't know where it went, so it will just go up here. He also turns into this giant magic thing, and he says something that we could have had something special if she didn't do this. But so Garth is mad at Lawrence and Aphmau because they're dating, but then Zane is constantly talking about how he wants to marry Aphmau. But he doesn't get angry about that. And literally Zane is we could have had something special. So he's talking about how, if Aphmau just married him, none of this would happen. And then Garth is there, and he's not freaking out about any of this. And I just think that's, unbelievably hypocritical. So Garth, Lillian, and Zane rush all of them. Lawrence holds off Garth. Caitlin holds off Lillian. And the stranger is holding back Zane, and everyone starts to fight. And the girls are fighting. The Lawrence actor keeps pronouncing Aphmau as Offmau. And I don't know. I just think that's really funny. Lawrence literally has no clue what he's talking about because Garth is you betrayed me. And Lawrence is what the hell are you talking about? I have no clue what you're talking about because nothing happened between them. And he says that he needs, Lawrence is you need to accept the fact that Aphmau might not like you back. That's just something you're gonna have to live by. And he's giving this hot girl pep talk, and that if you remember when he lost his mind when Xenix became evil. That's kind of what's happening with Aphmau, except to like another level. So do you remember like when we were talking about that back in Picaro Village? Yeah, that's what I'm referring to, is he's literally losing his mind because he's so in love with Aphmau. And the moment he discovers that she's in love with someone else, he flips his lid. And Lawrence is like, you just have to accept it. He's like, I've accepted it. She might not want to end up with me, and she's probably not going to, and she might not want to end up with you. And that's just something you have to learn to live with, which honestly is a really good life lesson. Sometimes people don't love you back, and you just have to learn to live with it. It sucks. Trust me, it sucks, but sometimes it just ends up like that. So Garth then turns back to normal, and Zane takes down the stranger. So Zane has defeated the stranger, and Zane goes for Aphmau, but Garth jumps in front of her and is holding Zane off. And so Garth is like, I'm so sorry. This all happened because of me. Yes, because it happened because you're a freaking child and don't know how to talk about your feelings. Literally, this is why I'm not a Garmouse head. Literally, if you just talked about your feelings, talked it out with these two, we would not be in this scenario at all. Like, at all. So then a portal appears, and this strange woman jumps out of the portal and is like telling everybody, get in, get in, get in. So everyone starts leaving. And then Aphmau's like, Garth, I can't leave you here. I can't leave you here. And Garth confesses his love to her. He confesses his love to her and then is like, Lawrence, get her out of here. So then Lawrence takes Aphmau and they all go into the portal. And that is the end of season 1. Thank you all for watching. I'm not going to lie. When I first watched this, stay on. When I first watched this as a kid, I cried. And honestly, at the ripe age of 21, almost a decade later, I still cried. I was like, it was super impactful. It was edited in such an amazing way. Like the music in the background, the betrayal, the voice acting just like added so much to it. Okay, that's all, folks. Thank you all for sitting through this with me for like 5 hours. I don't know. This episode I think is 3 or 4 hours, and the last one was 2, so 7. Who knows? I don't. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I am going to be doing season 2 of Minecraft Diaries. That's the next one I want to come out with. Do I know when that's going to happen? No. I start a job next week, and I do want to put a bit more content out on my gaming channel before I do that job. So I am going to be focusing on that for a bit. Prediction, maybe a month from now. I don't know. I'm definitely going to do season 2. I'm definitely going to do season 3. I have a bit more ideas on what to do after that. These videos, you know, it took me about 5 days to write the whole thing, and because I had to watch all the videos, then it took me about a day to record the first part and edit the first part, and then this one, it's probably taken me a day to record and then maybe a day or 2 to edit. But that's because I have so much free time right now, and I'm about to have no free time, so we'll see how far I get in this. But yeah, anyways, enjoy the video, like, subscribe, check out my gaming channel, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!